Hey everybody, Neon here. Just a reminder that this is part 2 of the Summer 2024 Seasonal Anime Podcast. If you have not seen part 1, go ahead and click the link in the top right hand corner if you haven't done so already to check it out. Alright, we hope you love part 2. Like and subscribe. Woo! Alright, it's time for the funny one, the meme one, the big one. It's time for Deer Anime. Deer Show.
I don't even know what you want me to say. All of my notes say something like, what is happening? What in the goddamn? What is this?
It's
all of my notes just say
anime.
the word peak in capital, all capital letters, over and over and over. Like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It's just that, but with the word peak.
Yeah, so this is the way this show is marketed needs to be studied, because I have never seen marketing for an anime work so well. And
the first trailer already got people's heads turning just by how absurd it was. But like I feel like even that by itself is just like, oh, okay. You know, it's not entirely uncommon to see out there weirdo anime humor. You could just chalk it up to being, you know, silly Japanese anime goofy shenanigans. But then when they dropped the clip of the delinquent girl dancing in front of the audience and the deer to the beginning of the opening just on loop, I feel like that's how, and they did it for an hour. They dropped that on Twitter and people were like, okay, I gotta watch this shit.
To be fair, the first part of the opening is the catchiest bit, to the point where I was at work and just in my head I was going like, Shika noko 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 kosh tan tan, just over and over again. And I was like, oh no, I have the brain worms.
You succumb to the brain rot crunchy.
It's actually a problem. By the way, I love the OP for this show. it's great.
Oh yeah,
it's very solid.
It's top tier.
You dear.
I think it's gonna become like, an instant classic OP.
It's like it goes with so many different styles and melodies or whatever. Like I don't even know how to describe it. It's so sporadic, but it's also insanely catchy. And also I could listen to the Shikanoko bit forever.
There's a moment in the middle where it almost acts like it's about to take itself seriously before it starts getting into the dumbest shit. And we're within the first 2 minutes of the show, so like, best foot forward, you deer, loss of parachute, dancing, JoJo face on deer girl, like, what am I looking at? And that just continues for 22 more minutes.
Listen, all I need for my daily serotonin fix is just put on the part where she tilts her head, scrapes up her antlers against a tree, up and down rapidly. All I need is that on loop for 5 hours, and I'm set.
My life is complete.
I have already seen
and that could just be the show.
I've already seen the YouTube video. My favorite part of the Shikanoko OP looped for 1 hour, and they like edit in a really smooth transition to make it almost a seamless loop. I
did see this.
It's a classic OP. That's what I'm getting at. And the show itself is it's a little more hit or miss than I expected, but when it hits, like, it is laugh out loud hilarious. Like, unbelievably funny.
I got big Chowder vibes, which is always a good thing if you know me.
Yeah,
so the go ahead.
When I was watching it, I just felt like my brain was melting. Like I did laugh at a couple of occasions, but specifically Shika, while she is blowing through the door and everyone is bleeding everywhere from the rubble. That
and no one is reacting negatively.
They're all just such positive people. It's there's only one fucker in this town.
The teacher will get glass embedded into her face and her forehead and be like, "Hey, welcome to the new transfer student, everyone." But then she'll hear that Koshi's a delinquent. Everyone turns their head in shock,
including the deer. The bit that actually sent me shrieking was in the
was it the drool?
Not the drool.
Oh my god!
It was when she was
that one sent me. That one I got the biggest Chowder vibes from, and I was when it started pouring like a waterfall complete with a rainbow.
It was the comical, violent blood spray when she was trying to clean up the building. She's like, "No, I'm fine," and then sprays horribly.
And that's never acknowledged again.
It was that moment I knew that I had no idea what was ever going to happen ever again.
You know, what I'm really curious about with this show in particular is comparing the manga to the anime, because it feels like the director has taken. I mean, I'm sure the original manga is also just chaotic and comedic and all that, but it feels like it has to be something with the director specifically, or with the anime team, who's just like, you know what? Let's just turn this into the biggest anime shitpost that has ever been posted. Because, like, the biggest thing that keeps me hooked through this show is just, there's like this subtle feeling throughout it of a very specific personality, like a very specific thing they're getting at, of just chaotic shitpost, like meme, literally, you dear is in the OP. Which is literally, oh god, that's like the Dark Souls death, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I saw that, I was immediately like, you know what? Me and this director are on the same page. We are. This is gonna be great.
I've also got nothing to confirm this because I haven't seen Land of the Lustrous, but apparently, according to one of my friends, once again did not cross-check this, but her dancing in the black background is a reference to Land of the Lustrous in the OP.
That explains why.
I just thought it was a generic dancing bit.
That explains why it has that, like, oh, we're about to get serious energy for a moment. Before immediately, nope. Parachute down to insanity.
They do the thing where they do the jump into the air, falling through the sky bit that you see in OPs, but then it's revealed that they all have parachutes except for Koshi, and Noko's just waving at her with her dumb no brain cell, see you later bitch wave.
Dude, there's so many good bits from this show. Like, even the way she's introduced, where the dear girl, Koshi is the other girl, Nokotan. How did I mix that up? Nokotan is hanging from telephone wire by her antlers, and Koshi is in this situation where she's like, maybe I should just leave her be. This seems like a bit of a freaky situation. And then Nokotan is like, but you're gonna have to live with that on your conscience forever. And it's like this really intense stare. Like, the stare is empty, but it's got like this effect over it. And god, it like, her face is the abyss. Oh yeah, like, you're gonna walk past this telephone pole and there's like flowers on the ground memorializing her death, and she's just gonna have to look at that every time she goes to school.
I'll haunt you for the rest of your life.
When the humor hits, it hits.
Yeah, I think my other favorite gag of the episode is when Koshi tries intimidating her in the bathroom, being like, hey, you can't expose my secret identity as a former delinquent or I'll fuck you up, okay? You weirdo dear girl. And then Nokotan gets like visibly upset about that, and Koshi thinks that, oh, maybe she's been like bullied all her life because she's a deer girl and not like a normal human girl, so maybe I've made a terrible mistake and I've insulted her. And then she's like, oh, maybe you wouldn't like me if I were a deer, huh? And she said, no. And as she's going to say, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, she just pulls off the antlers off and the top of her head as well. And just be like, all right, that takes care of that, right? And she's fucking, the way she reacts afterwards, like, you can fucking do that.
Yeah, the moments where the visual comedy is so on point here. It really does just do whatever the fuck it wants. And that's with a lot of comedy anime, you don't see them dedicating themselves fully to being funny. Like, there's going to be drama, there's going to be romance, there's going to be something. But in this, it's just whatever we need to do for the sake of comedy, including, I feel it would be remiss if we don't mention the deer, the 3D, terribly modeled deer that are just everywhere, and they absolutely do not fit in. But that is the point. There's so much dumb bullshit in the show that's like, they could go all out, because sometimes they do. Like the blood spurt, there's just so much fucking guts in that. And then they have these dumb fucking deer. Like, whatever makes the joke work. They'll go high, they'll go low.
I can't believe, like, these sneaky motherfuckers the whole time with their marketing and her dancing to the opening. That was actually the prelude to a goddamn Spider-Man 3 Bully Maguire reference.
That I didn't get, because I do not remember that, because I have no knowledge of superheroes.
Because you have no knowledge of online culture.
You haven't seen Spider-Man.
We have gone over
seen
this.
The meme. You haven't.
I
You
just
haven't
can't
even seen the
believe
memes.
you haven't even seen Spider-Man.
I have not seen anything, anything to do with it.
Bro, I surely you've seen Dancing Tobey Maguire.
Almost. I mean, probably at some point, but not enough to like, recognize it.
We need to get you educated.
Make a second
side
podcast.
We gotta get you subscribed to fucking Know Your Meme.
To know your meme? Oh my god.
We'll workshop the title
or the history
later.
of meme culture online on YouTube.
Nah, I'm gonna go back to Behind the Meme, watch all of his videos, then I'll truly be cultured.
Yeah, the Koshi gets suckered into being president of the deer club, where now her job is to take care and groom the deer.
Dude, I love the idea of this club where the entire idea is to just take care of Nokotan, who like because it's weird, because the teacher, she's like totally on board, right? And I think it's that in her head she's like thinking, oh, she's like, I don't know, like emphasizing the deer part of her, when no, she is like a person who can take care of herself. She just doesn't want to, and so is making Koshi do it. Like, I just love that premise, and obviously it's going to become a whole thing with, 4 members, presumably just the main characters, and I am excited to see that. Dude, I had to like physically
I'm looking forward to seeing
restrain
Rice
myself from like watching more episodes of this show. Like, of all the shows, this is the one I wanted to watch episode 2 of most. Especially with I hesitate to say cliffhanger because it's a comedy anime. But, I mean, it kind of is, with the girl glaring in the background. I want to see what her deal is. And more importantly, I just want to laugh at how stupid this show is. Deliberately stupid. Like, stupid in the best way possible.
Yeah, it is peak brain rot humor, and in the best possible way.
Guess that's it, yeah?
Yeah, it's not a deep show, it's just a funny show.
Sorry,
I know.
Deserves
gone
all
for
the
like
flowers it's
10
been getting.
nanoseconds to let my cat into the room. That's why there was the awkward silence. I was gonna fill it with something, and then I couldn't.
Well, we filled it for you.
Yeah, eventually. I guess I have a couple of critiques for the show, actually. And it's that, one, I think the show is too insistent on pointing out its own absurdity. So,
Yeah,
Koshi, I like the concept of her character, because she's the straight man to what will presumably be 3 unhinged club members. And that is like, just
I wrote in my notes, Koshi is the only straight man in a world of retards.
Not to be a pedant, but 2 club members and a deer.
Exactly. And, I like, because that's a funny scenario, but she, like, is constantly monologuing in her head about everything and being like, oh, this is stupid, and what even is that? And sometimes it works, but sometimes I'm like, dude, you could have just let the absurdity play out. Like, we get it. We understand. It's not a big deal, but I think it is just a little something that I hope improves as the show goes on. But the other thing is the narrator. Listen. He's like... okay, the only time I thought the narrator was funny was when you were talking earlier about the gag where Nokotan like takes off the top part of her head, and the narrator says, Koshi didn't know where the antlers began and or where the antlers ended and the head began. And I was like, okay, that was funny. I like that the narrator said that. Or it could have been Koshi literally saying, and honestly, this would have made it better. Koshi saying to herself, like, I don't know where the, antlers end and the head begins, something like that. But, it was a good line, is what I'm getting at. But most of the time, the narrator is just kind of superfluous. It's just kind of there. Just kind of says what's happening on screen. Or very
hope
lame
they don't
meta
abuse
humor.
I hope they don't abuse the chanting Sheikah song whenever a funny thing happens.
Well, have you guys seen episode 2 of this shit?
I want to.
Okay. My negative feelings about this show, I wasn't sharing, mostly because it was stuff that I had picked up on in episode 2. But yeah, that thing that you said about, like, weird thing happens, Koshi responds, it will be very it is very call and response, especially in that second episode, which obviously it doesn't pertain to this. But that is a critique that will continue at least into its second episode.
I mean, and there are ways to make that humor work, because, like, I need to find other shows to use as an example, but like Monogatari, that is literally its only joke. Like every conversation is just call and response, and I like that about it. So there are times when it works. I'm just not sure.
It can be good. I think it was distracting, right? Like, someone would say something, Koshi would say something, someone else would say something, Koshi would say something, and now I'm not even listening to anybody. I'm just noticing that it's Koshi being Garfield to John's John, nonstop. And it's
also this just doesn't seem like the show where call and response would necessarily work. Because it's all about just being as absurd and over the top as possible. And I feel like for those gags, just let the audience be the Koshi. That is what I think works best in these kinds of scenarios. So, like, I have examples other than the one show I always bring up as an example. Nichijou. Sometimes the characters will say in their heads, like, that's stupid. Why didn't you just do this? But it's very uncommon, and only when it is appropriate and when it enhances the joke. There's one gag where it's like this random side character with a bow on her head with this ramen eating place, and it just gets stupider and stupider, and she just says "Hey" in like more drawn out and dramatic ways each time. That's Nichijou's kind of call and response, where the response is in and of itself an absurdity.
It's the joke.
And when there isn't a response, it's because the call is so ridiculous that you can have the response in your head. Which is why Nichijou is so funny. I think Nichijou and Azumanga Daioh are like the two shows that do this kind of humor best. And Nichijou is, far more overtly over the top, I'd say. So
yeah, it is this show's greatest comparison.
Yeah. I hope this show does find its footing in its humor department, because it's made some hilarious jokes, as we went over when we were gushing about it. Like, it is when it hits, it really hits. Like, they are extremely funny, laugh out loud funny. It's just, I'm not sure if it's 100% there on like the structure of how it wants to tell its jokes, and about letting them speak for themselves is what I'm getting at. And that's actually the end of my thoughts.
Yeah, I got nothing more to say about it.
No,
so I guess we'll move on to Dead Demons Dededede Destruction. I hope I said the proper amount of D's.
You did say the proper amount of D's, except I'm pretty sure it's Dededede Destruction. Actually,
I was doing this by myself, just sitting like Dead Demons, Destruction, just over and over.
Look, all I'm saying is Team DDD has competition.
It's actually Yeah, I was gonna bring up King Dedede because that's all I think of when I see the title.
I love this
Yeah,
show's
so
title. It's so dumb, but I love it. No, just looking at the
It's
title
like
card
that-
written on the screen, and you just see like the same character written over and over again. Like that's beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it's just the katakana for day, over and over. So this is the TV cut of the 2 movies based on the, well, let's see, let me get this name right. Inio Asano manga, the man behind Goodnight Poon Poon.
Oh my god.
Bro said good night.
Holy
Pun
shit.
Pun. Oh. Neon, how could you?
First off, we call it Oyasubi Pun Pun in my house, but
What? Is Jujutsu Kaisen sorcery fight now, Neon? Come on.
No, it's just a good translation.
All
right. What's the Japanese word for Ghost in the Shell, huh?
I couldn't tell you.
You got my
listen.
ass.
Yeah,
Listen,
exactly. So shut the
There's
fuck
a
up.
time and a place, Neon. The time and
Do you
a
call it
place.
Mononoke Hime or do you call it Princess Mononoke?
I mean, I don't.
I'm
really
an English
refer to that
boy.
movie often because I haven't seen it.
I grew up in America. I can't help it. But I did read Oyasumi
exactly.
Fun Fun growing up. So that's what I have.
One
in my
hell
head.
of a story to read while growing up.
Grow
I
up on.
know. That's why when you said just now it's good night, Poon Poon, I was like, oh, returning to the past. No, that story.
I like calling
ripped
I
my
like
ass.
calling it Goodnight Poon Poon because it reminds me of Goodnight Moon, and I like to imagine that reading it to a child, as in like keeping it at the same level as something like Goodnight Moon, with knowing what its contents is.
Yeah, like I read, I had to put that down for understandable reasons because it was causing me to not want to keep living. Things are starting to make sense.
I have read the first 10 chapters of Oyasumi Pun Pun, and I know it's gonna be a masterpiece if I ever do read it in full. But I also know it will kill my mood for like the next few days if I ever finish it.
Yes.
Because
so it's on the BoJack Horseman tier of this is gonna be like quality media, but it's also gonna make me feel like I'm sad sack of shit for as many days.
Yeah.
Listen, I know how
You're
Oyasumi
laughing, but
Pun
guys,
Pun
yes.
ends and like the rationale the like Inio Asano had behind writing it. It is just hearing. God, it's like it's depressing. It's very, very depressing. That's all I
Anyway,
can say.
demons destruction.
Yeah,
Is also low key depressing.
not even low key. I mean, it's granted.
There's high, there's
turbo
there's
depressing.
energy. Some of the characters have
In the
the younger
beginning.
characters definitely have an energy.
I fucking loved this. Like,
Oh yeah, this is great.
laying out kind of what this feels like. This feels okay, so they're aliens, or maybe they aren't. But there's an orb which releases a smaller UFO style thing called a UAP. All it is making moves. We don't know if it's violent or not, but the Japanese government called upon America. America did what they did best and dropped a nuke on Japan. Leveled a city in the process. The UAP came out unscathed. None of this quite exactly matters. It does, but what actually matters is these 2 middle school girls getting ready to go into high school, dealing with the impending societal disaster collapse and the anxieties of everybody around them. It feels so climate change coded in a way that's like, God, this is relatable. And
not even just like climate change. It's more of just a, man, wouldn't it be crazy if like, I mean, yeah, climate change is definitely an aspect of it. I just thought it was societal collapse coded because like, man, wouldn't it be crazy if that like war in Gaza and Israel right now happened to spill out to the rest of the world? Wouldn't it be crazy if North Korea finally goes off the deep end and tries to drop a nuke somewhere?
It's like
Isn't it
societal
crazy to think
anxiety
about
at
that?
large.
Yeah, what if America just decides to like go to war with a country? Like what if we just say fuck it, we're gonna war on one of our enemies and we just plunge the world into World War III.
I guess the reason
and that could happen at any time.
I guess the reason why I called out climate change before war is because, like, if they wanted to make a war story, they simply would have made another country war. But they took this unknowable, massive entity that no one understands as the UAP. So it is otherworldly. Well,
I also kind of went for, like, the big broad thing is war, but climate change, like, it's the eventual, like, end of, like, society that can be brought about in a multitude of ways. It doesn't even have to be like a grand global scale. It can just be like the micro. It could have been like the
Japan.
Pandemic. Yeah, like even the pandemic, when like our way of life got temporarily flipped upside down for a while. And it's like, damn, that just kind of came without warning, huh? Like, all of society was put on pause for a brief amount of time.
Every character in this is high-strung in a different way. The adults almost seem to be handling it worse than the kids. The particular part that really got my ass is the kids are talking about something. Just like, I don't even know if I want to be worrying about high school, given all of this that's happening. And then the subtitles just put overwhelmed laughter. And I was like, yeah, I know what you mean, dog.
Yeah, I think it's very representative of our generation being like, yeah, we know that, climate change is fucking up the world and our planet will slowly become more and more unlivable as time goes on and water levels will rise. But it's like, what can we do? Like the individuals, like it's like putting us in the roles of the characters in the show. We're just fucking kids, man. We're just middle school girls.
And also, how do you keep fucking going on? Like her the main. It seems like the main character. I've lost her name. I think it's Koyama. Koyama. Okay. Koyama. Everyone around her is asking her questions about high school, and she's pretty deflective.
Bro, I don't know if I'm gonna live to see tomorrow. At any moment, that UFO could like shoot a beam down on us and kill us all.
It's like, why does high school mean shit when society itself is breaking?
No one's living in like active fear. Like no one's like building a fallout shelter and hiding under their chairs with a pillow and a helmet over their heads and quivering, shaking comedically like a maraca. They're just going about their day-to-day lives, but they've become apathetic. They're just like, yep, there's just a UFO in the sky now.
Embrace that new normal.
I just can't go. I can't go outside, and I gotta maintain social distance of 6 feet now. Yep, that's just a thing we gotta do.
Yeah, like just on a metaphorical and conceptual level, the show is stellar. Like, let's not even talk about the writing or the art or anything. The idea and the way the metaphor is presented to present the very real feeling of societal apathy is great. And then you get into the fact that the show looks crisp as shit. All of the characters are really believable. They all feel
to its
real.
credit, that's partially because this is a movie recut.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. So seeing it in the show format, there were two of them on the very legal service I was using, and I was like, which one? Which is it? So that
it's a two-parter movie that are both 2 hours, and according to the internet, this is going to be an 18-episode series with additional like scenes to stretch out the runtime, probably fill in gaps from the manga that the movie left out.
So this shit rocks, is essentially.
Yeah, I love it, and I feel like it's been lost in the conversation of anime this year because I think the movie came out earlier this year in the winter season, but now the show just started in like the end of May, beginning of June. So it technically started in the show. The TV cut began like near the end of the spring season.
I see.
And when it comes to anime, unless you're like a really big show like Cyberpunk, where you can like build a pedigree, or like have a pedigree built in and get big just on being your own thing. If you're like this and you don't have like that big a pedigree, you're gonna get lost in the shuffle.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the manga, people have been gassing this thing for years. I have heard about it constantly.
I've heard, same. And
Yeah.
yet, I haven't seen a single soul talk about the anime.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I don't keep up with anime discourse that much, but yeah, I mean, it's a shame because, I mean, I guess I'll spoil it. This is in my top 3 best. Like, I won't tell you where, but it's in there because, I mean, basically what you guys said, which I knew going in because God, I forget exactly where, but I know I've been exposed at some point to like some of the like thoughts behind why Dededede Destruction. What's the shorthand for this title? How do you even
Dead
create?
Demon.
Say dead 7
sure.
times.
Dead Demon. You could call it that, but. Yeah, like I've seen some of the discourse around why it's so good, and so I knew going into it, like, okay, the spaceship is a metaphor for basically a feeling of an impending doom that Inio Asano, the very happy man that we all know he is, only writes the most cheerful, wholesome
Bro's got
stories.
The sun shines out of his asshole.
Yeah, and so.
It's got science somewhere because it's not coming out of his mouth.
This is very much a, I guess, venting of his feelings about the world. Because, I mean, there's even, like, it's very, to a certain degree in society, you have to be apathetic. Because, I mean, one of the characters, I'm pretty sure it was Oron, was like, or no, this was definitely Kadode who said this, where it was like, I'm just gonna, like, what is there to do after high school? And she specifically says, like, look, I'm just gonna work at some corporation who's evil and doesn't have humanity's best interests at heart, and then Tokyo's gonna become a desert, and then we're all gonna die to aliens. Like, bro, like, why? And, like, it was specifically, like, it's specifically invoking the idea of, like, no matter where you work, you're working for an evil company. That's like, that's the one that hit me.
Ethical consumption under capitalism.
Bro, Oron was basically saying that. I have this quoted here. Someday I'm gonna make those capitalist pigs realize what the real threat is. It's not the spaceship.
It's me.
It's me.
It's
Dude,
me,
I love that
baller
line.
ass line.
Anarchy, baby.
It's like, yeah.
And then they're like,
I guess it's
Koyama,
this idea...
you gotta do your homework. I would do my homework, but the new Call of Duty Warzone map just dropped and we gotta run the ones.
True. But I guess it's this idea, especially, like, this is the one that hit me the hardest, where it's like, no matter what you do, you're in a way contributing to evil. If you buy anything, it's probably from a corporation that's evil. If you work, it's for a corporation that's evil. It's like basically impossible in the current system to live 100% ethically. And that's like, that messes me up. That, like, constantly.
Yeah.
And so that's the bit that resonates with me the most. Like, for example, like, going vegan is ethically superior to not being so. But I still eat meat because, like, literally what's it gonna do? Like, it's not gonna change anything. And so to have that apathy, like, so directly reflected, where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of...
I'll do you one better,
no matter what
it
you
tastes
do.
good.
True, you solved my moral conundrum. But, yeah, I mean, it's literally the same feeling of, like, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just wait for it to get fixed by someone who isn't me. Because I can't
This is like the
fix
anime
it.
equivalent... This is like the anime equivalent of the, All Eyes on Me song from Bo Burnham's Inside, where he's just kind of like admitting defeat and being like, yeah, we kind of lost in like the game of society. And I think we're at a point where unless there's a complete like global reset and brought about by like natural disaster or like full scale war, there's like no way to undo or reverse the current situation that we're in. And the result is that we just have a society of apathetic people who, if like the situation were directly presented in front of themselves to make a change, they might make a change. But if they are not given the direct like hotline or avenue to do so, then they're fine with just staying in their lane and living about their daily lives.
It's disempowerment, right? Like, you can make a change, but your change is tiny in the face of it all. And that's like, you are one drop in an ocean. If you turn direction, will the tide turn? No. It requires more.
If I give $20 to a homeless guy, he's not going to stop being homeless.
You know, like it's interesting you talk about like that one drop in an ocean, because that's something people will often say, where it's like, well, you need to do, you know, your small part, and if everyone, you know, if everyone lived like you, then, you know, this bad thing would happen. But if everyone, you know, slowly got to this point where they were doing the good thing, then, you know, we'd be fine. So you should do the good thing. And I'm like, if I do the good thing, I'll be the only one doing the good thing, and everyone else will continue doing the bad thing.
Listen, guys, if all 7,500 of you go to Crunchy's Patreon and donate just $1 a day, you'll for a month, you'll set this man up for life.
It would be nice. That's all I'm saying.
It would be nice. Please do that, exactly that. But you know,
as someone whose morality is very defined by my neurodivergency, it's like, you got to do it even in the face of change, just because, like, if it's the right thing to do, you do it. Even if it's hard, even if no one else is doing it. And I know that that's not an easy thing to say or an easy pill to swallow. I don't know. Where we're at in the show, to bring it back to it, we are currently in the complete and utter apathy. It's the first goddamn episode. We'll see if in the next 18, or if you guys have seen the movie, we'll see where it goes from here. Given the track record of this writer, I don't have faith that it's gonna go well.
It's only downhill from here. Maybe a small.
It would be
the best ending.
It would be based of Asano to make this like a very pro-humanity pilled ending, where it's like, you know what? Maybe if we all pull together, we can make it leave a positive change on society.
The best
I don't have faith in him for that. But
the best ending I can hope for from this is like salvaging a tiny amount of hope, kind of like Ava's ending in terms of tone, where it's like, here's the tiniest bit of hope we can salvage from this otherwise completely messed up situation. Like that's probably what it's gonna be like if I had to take a stab at it, or maybe it's just gonna be depressing. Who knows?
Have you guys seen the rebuilds rather of Ava?
I have not.
Not yet.
You should watch that. Do it on the podcast.
It's on the list. We watched Ava for the first time earlier this year on the podcast.
Yeah, keep going. That thing that you just said, it's gonna get played with, and I'm excited to see where you guys get to later. But
yeah, maybe we'll tackle the rebuilds next year.
This show does feel like that. I was reminded of that. This reminds me of Ava. The same kids trying to be kids in a completely melting world where your childishness is not really valued.
It gave me Big Girls Last Tour vibes.
Yeah, I can see that.
So,
although to be fair, Girls Last Tour wasn't as aggressively depressing.
I mean, if you saw the ending, if you read the ending of the manga.
Oh, I have not seen the ending of the manga, so oops.
Yeah, you would think Asano wrote it.
Uh-oh.
Bad thing to say. Bad start. Bad end, rather.
Yeah, no, it's very happy start, bad end.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's all I got to say about this one. I think it's great. I think it's the metaphors and themes are strong. It's only gonna get better from here.
For real. Like, I don't know if this is my favorite, but I do think no matter what, it's probably one of the objective best of this season.
It's not in. I will spoil that it's not in my top 3, but I think that's just this season is so stacked that it's in probably my top 5 at the very least. It just missed my top 30.
Like I'm not an objective person. I put the shit that I like in my 3, and I will not apologize for it. But if I were a robot, this would be up there.
Yeah.
But we're not robots, so who cares?
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, we're not robots. We're effeminate little femboy samurais because we're watching the Elusive Samurai.
Nice pivot.
Look, all I'm saying is first we had My Senpai as in a Tokonoko, and then we have this. Look, I think anime is trying to tell me something.
I think Yusei Matsuro is trying to tell us something when both of his main characters are femboys.
True.
You know what he likes.
One of the people in my Discord keeps posting art of both Nagisa and the main character of this show, because they both look like girls, and so people keep drawing fan art of them together.
I think he's got a type.
I can't help but notice it as well. Also, bro, why the hell is he 8 years old? I need that first thing. He's 8. Why is he so young? He doesn't even act like he's 8.
And why does he give the weird groomer priest the doomy eyes?
All right. I also noticed this. There's an explanation later for this. Episode 2.
Okay.
There will be an explanation, yeah.
Bro literally gives bed me eyes to this guy. And I'm like, hey, yo. And mind you, the most jarring thing about it is that it's after like a really intense action scene. He jumps, he gets thrown off this cliff, right? And he's like fighting or like running for his life, trying not to die. Well, actually, right before that, yeah, he wanted to die. And then he was like, actually, I changed my mind. I want to live. Then he gets up and, gives back up the cliff and gives the priest the bed me eyes. And I'm like, what the? That was sudden. Want to explain something? Whatever his name was, the author behind it.
Wow, Crunchy, your ass class is a top 5 of all time for you, and you can't even remember Yusei Matsuro's name. Fake fan.
It was actually a top 10, but I digress. Actually, it might not be there anymore because of Ava. But side note, I love Assassination Classroom. I think it only gets better as it goes on. It has issues, but its issues do not matter in the grand scheme of things, and also it has an amazing ending. And so going into this, I was very excited because I'm like, okay, this author's got a track record. My boy Yusei Matsuro, I will try to commit his name to memory, but it probably won't work out.
I was excited for a different reason, and it was that this was being animated by Cloverworks, and I was like, oh, word?
Who are in fact the new, like, one of my new favorite studios.
Indeed.
They're probably my top 5, top 3.
They did Bocchi and they did Dress Up Darling, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I've watched too much of their stuff recently. I started to notice things characters would do that looked very similar to other work. Marin, in the traditional outfit in the final episode of Dress Up Darling, she does a little turn, and it's really the character animation there is really realistic. And when our main character here is doing a little hoppy hop before he evades the guards for the first time, I was like, that looks, the way the movements are, it's very similar. And I was like, uh-oh, my third eye is opened to animators. I need to stop watching Cloverworks stuff. Maybe they should stop making good shit. Maybe they should calm down.
Yeah, these guys have been on like the greatest winning streak of like new studios in recent history. As long as you don't count season 2 of Promised Neverland, but I feel like that one was just we don't want to make this show anymore. Get us the fuck out. We did this out of an obligation and self-sabotage.
Yeah, rest in peace.
We make what we want and we ruin what we don't.
But yeah, they've done Horimiya. They've done. I hate this show personally, but other people like it. The Bunny Girl Senpai. They helped make Darling in the Franxx.
Oh, you don't like Rascal?
They did Windbreaker. They did Windbreaker last season. They did Akabi-chan, which I think is underrated. They did one half of Spy Family with Wit. They're like Big numbers.
They crazy.
They're in the big.
Anyway, let's talk about the show, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's got a femboy protagonist in it. What more do you need to hear?
So
would you like to lead?
This show is, I like it a lot, and I think it is really good, but it also has I mean, the first episode is good. It got me hooked. I especially, like its portrayal of the main character, but it also feels a tad rushed, perhaps. Just a little bit. Just a
definitely.
tiny bit.
I have no idea why this kid is so willing to go along with this priest dude, and why the priest dude has such a connection with him, and to the point where it's like, hey, I'm gonna change my entire worldview for you, buddy. So now let's travel the world together.
Bro, the ending of this episode, 2 episodes. That's what
the ending of this episode should have been the betrayal.
Yeah, like
the ending of this episode should have been the betrayal of that one guy.
No, because the issue is the guy. I mean, we can't even remember his name, but okay, granted, not remembering names is kind of my deal.
Yeah,
Takeuchi, and
the bright-eyed man.
Because I like his design. That one shot of him, just looking up at the camera while there's fire around him. Who is it that guides me to be ruler above all? I'm looking at the screenshot right now. That shot is based. I love it, and it did a lot for his character. Right? It really sold kind of what should have been unsellable, because we don't know this guy. Like, he appeared once in the episode before this. It was just like, just didn't do anything, didn't do much. Like, he was going out on some mission, and that's it. And so we go back and we're like, oh yeah, actually he betrayed us all. Oh, who could have? Wow, he betrayed us. That damn bastard Takeuchi. And I'm like, who? And I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. That guy who did nothing before this point. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like,
I do want to learn more about him, because he looks like an interesting son of a bitch. I mean, like, man, that main character Prince guy looked up to you so much. Why did you slaughter all of your comrades and turn your back on his empire?
It's also perfectly possible.
And why are you acting like you're being compelled by some otherworldly godly force to do it instead of your own free will?
It's also possible that we are missing some historical context, given the time period that this takes place.
Are these real people, or is this another?
I mean, I just looked up Takeuchi, and he comes up immediately. Ashikaga Takeuchi. Yeah, this is a.
Oh, he's a real dude.
This is a real man.
Oh, he's a real ass dude. Okay, so
yeah, these are all
the Tokiyuki.
These are real
main
people.
Character, also a real guy.
Great question. I'll look it up.
So we might be missing the critical information here.
Yeah. Hojo.
We're all professionals with the most up-to-date information on Castaway anime.
I'll let you guys know that I started every single one of these shows looking up nothing.
Same. Except for something here and there.
Hojo Tokiyuki was also real.
Oh, so this is a historical.
Yep.
This is like an anime biopic.
This is absolutely all of these characters were real. Asterisk, we're doing some silly shit, but yeah.
Okay.
So we are.
Maybe I should have picked up on that when the episode began with a history book.
Yeah, it's like, this is the history of this time period, and the guy who seems like he should be the main character is not what we're doing here. I believe that man is the bright-eyed killer. He is our theoretical main protagonist, but I haven't watched over it again to see if that lines up.
Okay.
This episode it's cut into two. You're getting a lot of introduction to some characters that, as it turns out, we don't actually need to dedicate headspace to. But that's important. It's trying to rapidly introduce us to this boy's head state before everything around him falls apart. specifically the transition, because even the opener of this, it was giving me some really, really powerful this is for kids vibes, some real Naruto energy. And then when that ball falls, and instead of a ball, it is a head which I believe the second episode reveals whose head that is exactly. And the implications are even fucking worse than you think. The head drops, you're like, what was that? And then it's all fucking downhill, nightmare, nightmare, nightmare from here. I felt that was well done. It certainly hooked me.
Yeah, it definitely made me pay even more attention than I already was.
I'm leaning forward now.
I mean, I'm trying to imagine like what watching this would be like with the critical information. I'm like, this episode would probably be way better knowing that, because I would know who this person is, and then be like, oh, actually, this hero, like, yeah, he's considered a war hero or whatever, but also his conquest was like kind of brutal, and you would understand why someone, you know, on the receiving end of that, would hate that guy and want to kill him. Because I want to kill him as the viewer. You know, I'm sitting there like, you bastard. You bitch.
Crunchy, you're against the death penalty.
Look, sometimes in fiction, my emotions get the better of me, and now I want him to kill this guy.
Morally, we don't want
he's
death.
He's gonna be the ultimate hero by running away, though. That's the tagline.
Yeah, it's called the Elusive Hero for a reason. And dude, I could watch this guy running through a town all day. Like, those scenes of him just escaping the people trying to get him to do lessons just fill me with, like, such whimsy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good just watching him run through town, you know, intricately animated and artistic.
It was right before he meets... right before he meets Yorishige, the weird-ass shaman. He's sitting up on that tree looking over his lands. Everything the light touches is his kingdom.
We might want to keep him on a list.
And he was like, man, I love this place. It's so peaceful. And I was like, you don't say that. You need to knock on the tree right now, my friend. But he didn't. Yorishige is a fucking enigmatic motherfucker. He is an oddball. I should look up if he's real.
He might be.
Yorishige Suwa. He is from the yeah, he's real.
Everyone is real.
Yep, he's real as well. Though I'm not going to speak to the religious aspects. Maybe Shintoism is the way to go. But the glow of his head, the absolute ridiculousness of his smile. He's a card for real. Which the tone of this show is odd to me. The when we hit complete travesty. Quite literally, there is a samurai that has 6 people's heads stabbed through 2 katanas. They are reveling in the violence and the blood. There is a character who is raped, and then her throat is slit, though you don't see that in action. It's just left implied. These things are happening, but the show is still willing to make jokes, and that's a choice. I don't know if it's a good one. I was just like, wow. Maybe it's because this is a kid. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think I like Yorishige so far. I mean, I thought his initial introduction was funny, but then, like, near the end of the episode, he's, like, you know, doing his goofy stuff, and I'm like, there's a war happening. Like, the main character's life just got ruined. What are you...
I know.
Why are you doing this show? This is not the time for that.
Bro, he was the original groomer.
For comic relief, and this is not that.
It gave me some real Demon Slayer energy, where, like, the first 2 or 3 episodes of Demon Slayer is just, why did his name leave my head?
Tanjiro?
Tanjiro, thank you. Yeah, Tanjiro is dealing with Nezuko's demonization and trying to come to terms with it, and also, fighting. And then once he finds his master and starts training, we start getting slapstick out of nowhere, and it's like, what? And the rest of the show is going to be that way. Like, there's some weird tonal shit in Demon Slayer, but that's neither here nor there. This felt very similar to me. Like, the jokes are kind of just here, and I don't think they're additive. It makes me like, is it?
I would dare say they're subtractive.
Deleterious to the material. All of the jokes are originating from the priest. There is never a joke being told by anyone else, which speaks to him being that way. I don't know. It certainly seems like I can't make heads nor tails of him yet. He can tell the future, but he doesn't speak of it because he doesn't know how the things that he says will affect the future, so he just doesn't bother commenting on it. Up to the point where when Tokiyuki asks, well, if shouldn't I die? And now he's working through in his head like, well, you could die. These people wouldn't even care. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Learn how to use your magic for good. Throwing him over the side of the cliff, quite literally calling out, this is the boy! Kill him now! I don't know what the fuck is up with this guy. Other than he's a fucking weirdo.
He's a weirdo, and I don't like the ways in which he is weird so far. That being said, throwing him off the cliff was based. I did clap.
Then die!
You should always throw 8-year-old kids off cliffs.
Me when I'm Heihachi Mishima.
I still can't get over, like, why is he 8? Why couldn't it have been, like, at least 13? Come on.
I bet
because it's not historically accurate.
Exactly.
Punchy.
I bet he was 8.
Nothing about this is historically accurate.
We can use the veil of historical accuracy to make the prince a femboy that people are gonna lust over on Twitter.
I, for one, would never lust for an 8-year-old.
Man,
I, for one, would never do it on main.
Catch me 7 years from now when I get canceled and Kiwi Farms find this exact
Listen,
thing.
they can't track my IP address if I'm not doing it at my IP
Bro,
address.
Listen, I was watching this show and I was like, God damn it, now you're telling me I'm gay and a pedophile? Come on!
It was one thing, it was already a pedophile, but I'm gay on top of that? I can't win.
And there is an explanation very soon on why the boy is blushing when he comes back up. Is it a good explanation? It's a neutral one. It certainly is an explanation.
Can I take a guess and say that he is like addicted to danger? Or like the rush of it makes him feel alive?
Do you want me to give you the answer?
Please, sure.
That is exactly correct.
I kind of thought so. It's a pretty shonen thing to do.
Yep. He enjoys the chase. It makes him flush in the face because he likes it. So.
He gets turned on by the chase.
Your Honor, he enjoyed the chase. Your Honor, he was leading me on.
Hatred
Look,
and pain.
It's a good show overall. Like, specifically the visuals, I think, like, I wish Assassination Classroom got this kind of adaptation, because, oh lord, the adaptation of Ass Class is kind of rough at parts.
Oh, yeah.
It deserved this. But, like, story issues aside, like, I am interested in seeing where it goes, and I will be watching. I'm intrigued. That's all I can say.
Well, Crunchy, since we're already talking about, stuff like this, and you being the resident incest guy, will you continue to be watching Days with My Stepsister?
Well, let me get real close to the mic for this one. No.
That's gonna show up real nice on the way forward.
Damn, why not, buddy?
I dropped the show, not even kidding, a minute into it.
A minute?
That's not the 5 minutes. We discussed this.
I know that I said the 5-minute test. Dude, I had to sit through that dual monologue of, what it means to be a step sibling. And hearing it from both of the main characters, I was like, no. Like, I know exactly where this is going.
So, like,
I wanted to kill myself 60 seconds in.
It doesn't get much better. And here's the thing, right? I want to like this show. Now I know what you're thinking,
yeah,
Leon.
Of course you do.
I know. Yeah, I knew what you were going to say. Look, I like the idea of, oh, hey, like, now there's this stranger. Shut the fuck up.
Got him.
Look, I like that. God fucking damn it. I'm not going to be able to finish.
All right.
I like the idea of, like, hey, there's this stranger in my life now. I am expected to, be friendly with her. But it's like, it's like this interesting dynamic. And more importantly, right, it's something that I think light novels specifically sorely need, which is making realistic brother-sister dynamics, which this one attempts to do. The issue, and granted, like, look, the source material for this is probably, like, a fine novel. It's probably, like, at worst, a 4 out of 10. If I had to hazard a guess. The issue is that the anime
A 3
is so poorly presented in so many ways. Okay, so that opening monologue, I could see that being fine in the novel, because many novels open up with a monologue of that sort of sets up the themes and tone of the story. And when you read it in just dry text, you're like, oh, okay, like, I'm picking up what you're putting down. This is interesting. The Haruhi starts off that way, and I love that opening monologue. That's like a normal thing. However, the anime puts sappy piano music over it and puts it in black and white. So it's beating you over the head. Feel something! Please feel something! We're melodramatic! Come on! We're beating you over the head with how to feel!
I have not spoken yet. This is my trash. The pianos were playing.
You were the incest lover the whole time!
The pianos were playing, and I was like, yeah. Step siblings don't fall in love, and I'm like, so true, but you will, won't you? I am here for romance.
I've been down this road more times than I care to admit, so I don't think I'll stick around for this one, thanks.
Look, once again, like, nothing about this show conceptually offends me. Even the idea that they can get together. Because, like, they're not even blood related. Like, they don't even know each other. They didn't even grow up together. Bro, if someone just randomly pronounced themselves their my stepsister, and they were hot
the title
as
is
shit,
clickbait.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? But
Crunchy, pick your next words very carefully.
But listen, this show is just, it's not entertaining. It's just not. Bro, there's like one part where it shows the date for no reason. I'm like, why? But why though? Why did you need text specifying the date? I mean, does it come back later? Maybe it does, because I didn't finish the episode. I got like halfway through.
Oh, gang.
On 2 times speed.
I finished this shit.
Because it's so sappy. It's just so.
Oh yeah.
It beats you over the head with how you should feel, and I'm like, bro, look, you can, like, this dynamic, conceptually interesting. I want to like this character dynamic, but it's just every shot has to, like, communicate, you should feel this way. And the soundtrack has to be, blaring heart rot constantly, like, and you have to feel this way too. Meanwhile, it's, like, not even animated at all. It's the art and the animation are terrible. Like, no, I won't feel that way because it looks bad and because you keep screaming in my ear to feel sad. If someone screams in your ear to feel sad, the saddest I'm going to feel is for my poor eardrums, not because you told me to.
So, the show is extremely melancholic. It's slow.
I'll say it made me want to kill myself.
It's slow. Not a lot happens. And
it's
the
slow,
characters.
right? 2 times speed
spend
felt like the right speed.
Characters spend a lot of time kind of just like pussyfooting around each other. Fundamentally, this first episode is, hey, this is your new sister. You know literally nothing about each other. She has one conversation with them and goes, you seem so normal. Let's never fuck. And they both agree. I'm paraphrasing. When they move in together, they're kind of just like feeling out the space. Like, how formal do I need to talk with you? What things are normal, what aren't? As the episode continues, he has to go to work, where he talks to one of his seniors who makes a really great joke about cum, at least in one translation. And then he comes home, and they kind of put a lot of effort into this one scene where there's no dialogue, nothing's happening. He's just turning into the hall, and it's surrounded by shadow, and then there's a light in the distance, which is representing her sitting in the living room. Both of these characters have parents who are so busy working that they're used to being independent. So it doesn't say a lot. God, it doesn't say a lot. But what it's getting across with its visuals is like, these people are growing to enjoy others being around, to the point where he says, well, I'm home. And she just goes, okay, because they're straight up not used to it. There's a lot of social dynamic stuff happening here that I thought was interesting. Interesting enough that I kept watching. I watched the second episode as well. However, and let me know if this comes as a surprise, the show doesn't fucking speed up. It's this slow, period. I am here for this. I'm especially here for the way that these characters are like complete strangers figuring each other out. That is a good start for a romance, especially one where, like, if we're being realistic, you would have to do this to some degree. Maybe not as much as the fuckers are. These two, genuinely, I see some neurodivergency in that girl, the way that she is behaving on occasion. But it's just too slow, and the animation, it's contemplative and melancholic, and that is a choice, but you gotta be here for it. And if it is boring, I think this is literally boring, maybe even on purpose.
Super dude, I'm gonna give you some advice, all right? Read the novel, it's probably way better. Like, if I had this, because you're describing why I think the novel version of this is probably, like, at least okay.
Especially like, since you read at your pace. Like, if you didn't like the 12-second sequence of him taking off his shoes and discovering that she was still home, that's gonna be like 3 panels.
Because, like, okay, for the novel to be as bad as the anime, it would literally have to be written like, and then I melancholically looked at the girl who was supposed to be my sister across the room, but she didn't feel like my sister. I don't know her at all. This is tearing me up inside. I said to it would have to literally be like that, because that's what the directing feels like.
I liked the tone. It was new. It was not new.
So much.
It was. I like the tone because it made me feel something. It was different. But yeah, when I continued in that second episode, I discovered the tone worked for exactly 24 minutes. I think that this is probably good for extreme sickos. Like, people who are here for that melodramatic, absolute, like, what is the word? Bleeding hearts out there. This is probably good, but you're working uphill to find anything meaningful about this.
I mean, I can be a bleeding heart. You just gotta, like, you gotta edge me a little before I can get to that point, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this does not. It kind of insists upon itself. It doesn't put in any work. I think the work it's putting in like is that piano that made Neon immediately quit. The first couple of seconds, that's trying to tell you what it is. It's Sign of Affection has a very similar moment in its first episode.
Hey, it did a very good job informing me of what it is. That's why I dipped 1 minute into the episode.
I guess you figured it out. This isn't for me.
It's not false advertising. It's just, it's just not good.
it was in fact selling itself as a no good piece of shit show, so I took it as such and
I
left.
don't blame you. Look, all I'm saying is,
well, Crunchy,
bad.
Oh, go ahead.
That is the extent of my thoughts. No, you go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say, Crunchy, you were talking about edging before. A show that could learn to do that is Pseudo Harem.
Oh my! You just made me
This.
Dude, what I just felt was like every repressed memory of having watched this show assaulting my brain all at once, causing a visceral wince in me as I just struggle to cope with the emotions of remembering having seen this show. Because, okay.
So you're saying you didn't like it?
I did not get through the first episode. And the reason why, right? So I saw the title Pseudo Harem, and I've heard some gassing of the manga from one of my friends specifically. I don't talk to him anymore for unrelated reasons. But
because
no, actually very related reasons. He gassed Gigi Harem and I couldn't let it slide, man. So what I thought this show would be was that she is literally like dressing up as these different characters and the guy believes it. Which you may think, oh, well, that's stupid. Like, how would that work? The answer is, you're right, it doesn't work. But I thought you could at least get like some good chaotic comedy out of that. Like an absurdist comedy with that premise, like I'd be down for it. But then I saw like the poster for it on AniList and I was like, okay. This show's gonna take itself way too seriously, isn't it? And I was right, but what I was wrong about was the specific premise, which I would have gleaned if I actually read the show blurbs on AniList, but I don't, because I don't care. And so I watched it, and, you know, at first I was like, kind of, like, oh, you know, the main character has a design. You know, he looks like Hachiman from Origairu, but, you know, hey, it's a design, you know, he's not John every anime like I expected. And, you know, then we get to the part where, okay, the dialogue in this show sucks. It's unbearable. It's like the most flaccid conversations you could ever possibly have. And then we get to the actual premise, and it's that this girl pretends to be different girls from anime tropes. The tsundere. She says baka, but the guy knows that it's just her. And so every conversation that I saw from this show before I dropped it was, and then she pretends to be an anime girl, and then the guy says, man, you did a good job pretending to be that anime girl. How about you try being a different anime girl? And then she pretends to be a different anime girl, and then they're walking to school and she's like pretending to be anime girl still, and I'm bashing my head into the table hoping to forget what I just saw because of how mind-numbing it is. What is this show? How do you make a show out of that? What could possibly happen?
Can I read you some masterful dialogue they should be taught in classes for? Let me see. Yeah, something about interested in romance stuff. It's like, of course I am. I want to hit my popular arc. I dream of having a harem too. And then she's like,
so
harem. Yeah, and so a normal person would be like, wow, that's weird that you told me that, having like we just met today. You're gross, ew. No, her response is to, you know, start acting as all the like the different girls to pretend to be his harem all as one character.
Well, you see, he did one thing to her, and now she completely loves him.
She loves him.
Wait, are you trying to give me the pseudo harem experience? Like that's a real thing that you're trying to give me right now?
We've all had one or two in high school, you know.
Look, it's a Morbin time, Neon. We got a Morb.
And roll credits. He said the thing.
Yeah, once again, I'm a romance guy. I watched the whole thing. You guys are correct. I don't know exactly how this conceit could carry a whole show. By the end of this episode, I was like, wow, I've kind of seen everything. It's just, man is oblivious to everything. This girl who loves him so so much for some
Bro,
reason.
she is smitten. Day one, she's like, "Oh my god, I fall in love with this weirdo who wants to have a harem," and I'm literally fulfilling his wet dream fantasies by pretending to be all these different girls, and instead of not letting him to get to know the real me. This is such a normal, healthy relationship.
Like,
it's just manipulation too. Like, what mask do I need to put on right now to get him to do what I want? And it's like, none of this is a good basis for a relationship. Not what he's doing, not what you're doing. And it's comedy. This is very comedy forward. So sure.
Comedy? I'm glad you told me because I didn't realize watching the episode. Because none of it is funny.
Jokes were told. I'm not saying
they
laughter
were told.
Occurred.
They sure were told. That's about the extent of the jokes in this show. They were told.
Yeah, I wanted this to be better than it was, but like, God, it
Dude,
feels like we've seen everything.
Is cute at times, but that's the only thing I got out of the show.
Yep.
Dude, the version of this show that is as chaotic as Shikanoko and has the premise that I outlined earlier would have been a good show. I could imagine an entire 12-episode comedy being legitimately good based on that premise. You weave in some, extra side characters. Maybe one of them, realizes what's going on. You could have chaos ensue from that. Look, I'm not saying it'd be a masterpiece or anything, unless it's the best jokes ever. But it could be good. I'd watch that. But instead, it's takes itself seriously for a premise that you can't even get 5 minutes out of. I was bored immediately. But even if this was well written, that premise just doesn't work. You can't make an entire anime out of that. You just can't. I'm not convinced it can be a thing unless 90% of the show has nothing to do with the premise.
I think the only way you can make this premise work is if instead of it being she pretends to be different characters in front of the guy and he's aware of it, you have a girl dress up and assume completely different identities. And Phineas and Ferb switch out at times to be oh, I've got Batman Bruce Wayne switch out to be and give him the harem experience that way.
Yeah, I just don't think that this can carry. There's no, I don't know if this premise, unless episode 2 has to introduce something else, something more, because I feel like I've already seen everything. The issue is, I'm not gonna watch that second episode. Sorry, to see what the fuck they get up to.
This is Abyss, and not Made in Abyss. I just mean Abyss tier fiction. Just unfortunate.
Yeah, let's stop talking about it.
Yeah,
good idea.
This is about the part in the list where I kind of hit a string of shows that I wasn't able to see because of big things happening in the news the past week. Yeah, stuff like the outage that affected my work.
Right, yeah.
So I did not watch Atri My Dear Moments.
Okay, well you should have, because it's actually pretty good. And it's actually a straight... This is the funny thing. There are 2 shows this block that are very similar, and it's Atri and another that I won't talk about yet. And this is just a straight up better version of the other show, and it's kind of hilarious to see them directly juxtaposed. Yeah, so Atri My Dear Moments, because I saw that this wasn't high on the charts, and so I went in with no expectations.
I saw a visual novel adaptation, and I thought, I was okay, maybe this is one of the ones I can safely skip.
No, you can't safely skip it, because so it takes place in a version of Japan where it's in the future just a little bit. So there are robots that look like humans, and they have since been discontinued because people were like, well, that looks and acts too much like a human. What the fuck? This is kind of weird. What are the ethical
Human robots are
implications
stupid.
of
Hate
this?
them.
Yeah, and so they started making stupider, less human-like robots is the thing. And so, and also, unrelated to this, Japan, I'm pretty sure it's, so they say it's because of a variety of factors, but no one's, pinned down a concrete reason. It's global warming, shifting like the plates of the earth shifting under the water, but Japan is flooding. Like every continent in the world is flooding. And so the beginning of the episode takes place with this, main character revisiting his hometown, which is now underwater, and he's like going to his grandma's house, like with a sub underneath, because he's been told by this random girl who it is immediately established that she could be completely lying to him. She could literally, like, cause him to drown or something to that effect. Or like literally just steal the treasure, because she says, like, look, there's treasure down there, I need you to help me get it. It's unclear why she needs his help specifically, presumably because he knows the location or whatever. But the point is, like, they're together trying to get this treasure. What they instead find is this robot named Atri, or Atri, but the Japanese pronunciation is Atri. And she's just this little, cute, adorable robot who... Dude, that one shot of her, like, looking up at the main character, being like, huh? But I'm looking up at you. Because he had said, like, why do you keep looking down on me? No, like, that's adorable. And then the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes that day. Like, that is the cutest shot in existence. And the point of this episode, at least, is that he's slowly getting to know the robot, and, like, it's unclear at this point how aware and sentient the robot is. And it's deliberately unclear. Which it's a good choice, because if she was, like, just a robot and there's, like, no strings attached, she is not sentient, she does not feel anything, it'd be like, well, okay, why should I care? Like, she's just an object. Why should I care about her emotions? She doesn't feel emotions. But with this robot, it's like the most realistic humanoid the most realistic model that any of the characters have seen. And, she was, kept at his grandma's house, locked in this capsule for whatever reason, right? And her model was quickly discontinued because she was too realistic. So it's like, okay, how much does she feel actually? Because there's, a part at the beginning where she's like, oh, my master's dead. Anyway, you're like, okay, so she doesn't feel like human empathy or whatever. So she's a robot. But then future things contradict that, where she seems to be, like, the main character gives her a gift and she, seems genuinely touched by it. There's one part where the other girl is like, okay, I'm gonna take this girl to my house and we're gonna sell her. And, like, she's on the motorbike and she's looking back at the main character melancholically. And then, the main character starts running after her and she sees that. And then, he eventually, he's left in the dust and she's like, getting all up in her feels about that. And I'm like, okay, so there's a conflict here. And I feel like that's going to be interesting to delve into as the show continues. It's like, I like the world building. I like the character of Atri. She's adorable, and there's an interesting thing going on with, like, is she alive? Like, does she count, basically? And that push and pull is, it's making my brain
she's a
go
woman,
work.
so no.
Okay, Neon.
That's the only thing I could add to this conversation, so I had to say it.
You're gonna be just like me last block. You should have watched this. This was actually pretty okay.
Yeah, this is all right.
I know I kind of dominated.
I'm hearing that you're glazing crunchy, but Super Dude's just saying, like, yeah, it's okay.
I've been kind of dominating the discussion, so go ahead.
This is not my bag, but I don't think it's bad. There was some stuff in the beginning, some flashbacky to his past, something that we still don't have any real lead into. Well, actually, no. We saw he has nightmares of his past, seemingly where he lost his leg, and there was a flash of some hands coming down to help him in one of the final flashes, which immediately after we see Atri, and maybe there's a lot of mystery around her. There's a mystery around how did he get out of that previous situation. There's a lot of mysteries being set up, and I find the setting interesting. I find the robot very good. as someone who knows exactly what show you're talking about that we're going to get to later, I do think that this one does a better job with that setup. It was just it cooked a little slowly. I wanted more. But I think it's very good. Really, what's making me say like it was good is there is so much good that something has to fall off, and for me, it's this. But yeah, you should watch this, Neon. This was very good, and it's got a great little mystery to it that I'm hoping we will see more of.
I will say the only thing I don't like about this show is that visually, it's like fine, it's okay, it is perfectly serviceable. Not the most stylistically interesting, but it's like it's palatable, it's basically okay. But at the same time, like with a show that's so, I guess I wouldn't even say rich in its world building because not a lot has been established yet. But for for a show that's trying to have a setting, that's like, oh yeah, we're in the future, and also, there's a flood, and it's like, okay, this is trying for something. Like, I feel like you need to go a little further than you would otherwise in rendering that setting to be interesting. Like, okay, we were going through the water, and I was like, oh, this is such a beautiful locale, and then I see CG fish, and I'm like, yeah,
Fish.
Those exact words.
Wow, fish.
And so I'm like, yeah, on the one hand, like, it is good. I like where it's going. I mean, granted, it could go either way. It could be garbage.
Yeah.
But, this first episode is, in and of itself, good and has me, intrigued as to where it's going. But I'm also like, yeah, but I want the better visuals, That would be good.
I would say, I think that this first episode is very hooky. It's trying to get its claws in you. It's got a lot of things that it's setting up. It doesn't really get around to solving any of them, which, episode 1, we don't have to. That's fine. But it certainly is implying a much greater sense of the main character's backstory, of Atri, of the world, that if you find yourself drawn to it, that's why they did it. Multiple mysteries.
Look, all I'm saying is this could be the one good visual novel. That's my piece.
Are you talking about visual novels in general or visual novel anime?
Visual novels in general, but I am definitely being facetious. Super Dude doesn't have the context for this. One of my friends made me try to read Tsukihime, and I hated it so much that I have declared visual novels as a whole to be terrible. Unjustifiably, but still.
Bro did not play Doki Doki or Clannad.
Mm-hmm. Those
Listen, I'm going to be playing Class of 09 soon, so that's probably going to resuscitate
or the one
Class
I
of
forget the name of that
09.
has all the disabled
okay, dude.
characters.
Class of 09's doing something a little different.
I am aware. However, it's going to be peak Super Dude. It's going to be peak.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's going to be a different kind
is it
of peak.
as peak? Is it as peak as the magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be archenemies?
Actually, this one is pretty good too, and I was
glad
stunned.
we're on the same page.
I saw the title and I was like, "This is gonna be generic and bad and boring." And then I watched and I'm like, "Wait, okay, so it's got a simple premise, but it's got 10-minute episodes. Like it knows what it's doing. It knows not to beat it into the dirt. It knows hey, this is a very simple idea, right? Like, the evil guy falls in love with the magical girl. You don't really need to go much of anywhere with that premise, other than them eventually getting together. And so the show, it's like, okay, we get it. We're just going to make it 10-minute episodes. We're not going to waste your time or anything like that.
Yep.
And what it has in those episodes is shockingly charming. I was like, yeah, actually, I might continue this. Like, this is... I'm picking up what it's putting down.
I have continued this. Like, the first the way that it is absolutely laying thick the romantic texture but it's not necessarily romantic. This is leaning really hard comedy. And the way that the jokes were presented and the way that we will hit romance before immediately pivoting hard into comedy, it reminded me so much of Kaguya, Love is War. And that show is my favorite show. So I was just like, oh no, this has me. I'm circling. I'm dying. And
dude, because it's legitimately funny. Like,
yes,
the main guy is so like just so in love with her, like to the point where, like, the magical girl he's supposedly fighting, right? You know, okay, so it's established in this world that she does not really want to be a magical girl. And the reason why is hilarious, is because this land shark had, like, bought out the lands that her house was on. So she's like, okay, I need money, I need to find a place to live. And then the cat walks in, and he's like, listen, bud, it's either selling your body or becoming a magical girl. So you want to become a magical girl?
I think he literally says, like, it's magical girl or selling pussy. What is it? And he's smacking her in the face while he's saying this. He's like, come on, pussy or this? And I was like,
and then she says afterwards,
I think that cat might have been in on it with the Yakuza. And
he was!
Yes,
that's literally revealed! You guessed the reveal, Neon!
Yeah.
He was literally in on it.
I saw this. It was moment one when this cat appears. He's like a really low effort drawing of a cat, and I thought that's Madoka Magica right there. And then yes, they are doing a fucked up Madoka Magica where this guy, her life is actively getting worse, and this guy is just brutalizing her. But rather than it being, you know, like a psychological horror in Madoka Magica's case, he's just berating her and telling her to sell her body. It's stupid. That's her deal. And the other guy's deal is so much more straightforward but fucking funny. Where he's trying to be a hard ass, and instead she'll just be like, I love cake. And now he's punching a tree and screaming. And I'm also punching a tree and screaming.
Dude, like, it's
with
so
laughter.
endearing how over the top in love he is with her, and just like he, you know, he's saying to himself like, okay, I'm gonna actually be evil this time. And then he just buys cake for her on Amazon. Oh, it's established that the main girl does not eat. Like, she is so broke from this magical girl biz, right? That she literally, like, cannot feed herself. And, you know, she's like, well, okay, well, I guess I'll go hungry because, you know, I mean, I need to save money, and, you know, it'll teach me, like, it'll teach me self-control, right? And the main guy's just like, you poor soul, please eat something. And so, like, it's established right away that, like, basically the only times she eats are when she sees this evil, like, this guy who's supposed to be fighting her, which is just hilarious. He's, you know, feeding her, like, cakes and stuff. It's so cute. It's adorable. Like,
yeah, this knows exactly what it is.
How refreshing is it that this is a Bones anime and it's only a half length?
It's great. It gets in, it gets out. It knows what it is fully.
Yeah, it's like one of those anime where it's like, you know, it's half length not because it's bad, but because half length really was the way to tell this story. Like, you know, having a full episode of this each week, that's like 20 minutes. Okay, well, you're kind of, you know, beating in the point a little too much. But to have like a 10-minute episode every week, well, now you got me. It's like, it's everything it needs to be. Anyway, want to hear something depressing?
Please.
All right, I'm not sure if you know this, Super Dude, but I looked into the manga for this. Because I saw on AniList that it, you know, under the title, it said canceled. So the manga for this is not complete. It was never finished. And the reason for it is because the mangaka, I actually, before I get to this, I need to find her name. I need to, like, say it out loud.
Oh, she died or something?
She died. She died of illness. I was so because I had just gotten off of watching the episode. I was like, oh my god, I love this so much. It's so cute. And I see immediately, okay, so her name is Koko Fujiwara. I'm presuming Koko is a pen name. or maybe it's pronounced Cocoa. I don't know. But Koko Fujiwara is the original creator of this. And unfortunately, she did pass and was not able to finish her manga. It's a 4-coma, which makes sense considering how simple it is. Basically, what I'm saying is rest in peace, and you created peak.
I wouldn't call it peak, but she made a good.
You shut your mouth. It was great.
Good. It was everything it needed to be, okay? It made me smile. I had a big, goofy, dumb smile on my face the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it knows exactly what it is. Did it set the bar particularly high? No. But it knows what it wants to be, and it excels at that. And perfect. Mwah.
Yeah, speaking of setting bars really high and just being surprisingly good in general, where the fuck did Makeine come from?
This shit nuts.
Makeine? Makeine? I'm pretty sure it's Makeine, my guy.
Makeine!
Actually.
Well, okay, I mispronounced the name, but when they put the E and the I next to each other like that, you have to say like K as one syllable. So it's
Makeine.
So it's not Makeine, it's like Makeine. Makeine.
Makeine.
I'm pretty sure Makeine is just the abbreviation for the title, though.
Yeah. The full title is Too Many Losing Heroines. Enough about semantics, though. This show is competing with Shoshimin series as my favorite of the season.
Yeah, so this was made by A1 Pictures, who made Kaguya. So I saw that and went, huh? And immediately sat up. And it's...
Well, the thing about A1 is that it's like a roulette wheel if you're gonna get, like, good A1 staff or let's just shovel this shit out for money A1. Recently, it feels like...
What do you think we got?
Yeah. Recently, I'll give you this. In recent years, it feels like A1's been a lot more focused on putting out actual quality stuff and not... They used to be the let's make literally whatever and we'll just throw whatever at the wall and see what sticks. They seem to be focused more on quality than quantity recently, which is good.
Mm-hmm. This does have...
because then we get shows like this, and it's like this was a light novel adaptation, and I'm like, light novels can be this good.
I know, it's
the writing
stunning.
can be this sharp and witty.
Because
impossible.
Because it's such a light novel premise too, which is the most stunning thing about it when you consider that it is legitimately great. Because the idea is basically, look, in anime, the childhood friend never wins. Never. It has never happened once. Any examples you can think of off the top of your head are false information, fake news. They didn't happen, you are hallucinating. They have never won. And so, this premise is basically about, hey, what if there's 2 of them so far. I wonder how many childhood friends we'll have by the end who then get rejected. But it's basically like, hey, what if the childhood friend like got rejected and then got with another guy? And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, that's the most light novel premise ever. Could go, anywhere in terms of quality. This one goes like peak. It's amazing.
Everything about this show is like, it's peak. The writing is peak. The directing is peak. Even the character animation is so alive and energetic.
The scene of, you remember me, right? And he goes, oh yeah. And then he's just thinking, no, not at all. And he has just the most serene look on his face.
This show can take 2 people just having a conversation on a staircase, and make it visually entertaining by just having the characters do funny little things like
Anna has
trying to
insane
slip
faces.
pieces of food into the dude's lunchbox and be like, hey, that covers for all the food that I ordered when we hung out, right?
She has such good faces.
Man,
Really?
women,
She's a reaction image factory.
Women in crippling debt has to be one of my favorite subgenres.
There's another character.
This is an example of it.
We see very little of her in this episode, but Kamari Chika, I have a feeling it's the girl who stuttered, very, very shy one. I have a feeling that she's gonna similarly be in that boat because, God, the energy that she's giving off. It's like Bochi, if we were a little less funny and a little more real about what's going on there.
Because I think what makes this show so immediately interesting is that it's just such a unique dynamic. The idea is basically this girl, right? So she gets rejected in a restaurant, and this guy just happens to be looking in on it. He's like, oh, what's this about? And, maybe I should just pretend I didn't see anything. And then she realizes, oh, this classmate of mine has just been staring at me this entire time.
It's not just some guy, though.
And has been watching me drink out of his soda.
Yeah, it's prefaced with that.
And the look that she gives him when she gets caught in 4K high ultra HD resolution.
Bro, that's going on the thumbnail. Spoiler
our lead
alert,
character here,
Good.
whose name escapes me. I have no idea what this fucker's name is. I don't even. Are we told?
Nukumizu, the main dude.
Okay. He is the most mundane fucker. Specifically, how do you represent that your character is boring without genuinely being boring? Have him monologue about where the best tasting water is and his rationale for it. There is character in how they represent these people. He is such a wallflower, nothing person in fiction. But because of that, rather than genuinely being invisible, people are constantly coming up to him and getting him into hijinks. And he just doesn't know how to tell people no, I guess.
I love that every time that he's basically unwittingly dragged into this conundrum with Anna because he just happened to watch her lose her childhood crush, and then also watched her drink out of his soda, and then she just pushes herself onto him, being sits at his booth at the restaurant, orders a huge plate of fries, which she eats all of. And then we find out she also ordered a shit ton more food, which, I just love the girl who orders a lot of and eats a lot of food trope. And she's just ranting the whole time without letting him get a word in edgewise about I can't believe that soggy cow bitch muscled in on my man. He's basically my husband. I mean, he promised when we were 5 years old that he would marry me and make me his wife. So when you think about it, she's really a home wrecking slut, right?
Dude, that you just reminded me where this based line says there are two types of women: the childhood friend and the home wrecker. And I'm like, yeah, that's so perfect.
Dude, the writing difference between light novel adaptations like this and Alia is fucking night and day.
Bro, how could you even justify watching Alia when this is in the same season as it? And it's it's the good light novel romance, which we get very few of, which is why I'm going to savor this, because I'm a novelty boy. I like writing, I like reading, and because here's the thing, I bet this is also just an amazing book to read. That's the thing. When I watch this, I'm also imagining the great book that I can go read, because one of the people I follow on Twitter constantly shills it. Was hyped about this before it even came out. This seems like it's a great book and a great anime. I want to consume both.
What's got me most excited for this show is it feels like it's gonna be one of those it's gonna bat on all cylinders, and it's going to not have to sacrifice in any department. It could be just an incredible show all around, not oh yeah, the animation's pretty bad, but the story's good, or it's oh yeah, the animation is really good, but the plot and the characters are really boring. No, everyone that's shown up has been interesting. The show is full of unique directing and energy that makes it feel it's got a beating pulse, and it's running a marathon on a treadmill. It even has little weird quirks about it. There's a teacher who's, I think, looks to be as old as one of the students there. They're I don't know what the deal is with that, and I want to know. They call her sensei, but she doesn't look any older than the class the kids who are there.
Yeah, Amana, I think is that teacher's name. I think that's just I just chalked it up to anime girl bullshit. Like, yeah, they all look the same age. Sure, yeah. Think nothing of it. Look over it.
Have y'all seen the opening that came out recently, floating around online?
Yeah.
I saw you post it in my server, and I was gonna check it, except I had work that day, and then I forgore. Because I was like, when I saw it, I was like right about to go.
It's a contender for opening of the season and opening of the year. Because for one thing, it's not the full band of Nakai Talkie, but they got the lead singer from Nakai Talkie. And if you remember them, they did the Scott Pilgrim OP.
Oh, that one was good. Okay, we're in good hands.
Yeah, the animation for it is like the whole show. I can't stress this enough. Like it's got so much energy, it's got so much life, and the fact that it's a goddamn light novel adaptation, it's like the kind of shit that makes me go like, well, thanks a fucking lot, because now I have to keep watching light novel anime in case one of them turns out to be this good.
God damn it!
I can't just write them all off anymore.
You're truly suffering. Really beautiful animation, really excellent writing. Like this is the whole deal.
When the little sister showed up with the main character's room and she just places her, and he's like scrolling through a like collection of books in a digital library, and then she places her hand over his while he's scrolling to make him scroll to where like, hey brother, can you give me some books from here? And then like while they're talking, she just feeds a cookie into his mouth, and they like don't even bring too much attention to it. It's just a thing that she does. And then when she finds out that the girl is making the lunches for her to make up for the bill that she racked up, the way she jumps into the dude's arms and he leans back in the office chair, but he supports her weight to keep themselves from falling over. There's so many little moments like that while the characters are just talking that makes the show so engaging on a moment-to-moment basis.
It's good. You've heard it here first. It's good.
Yeah, we are the first ones, the absolute first ones, definitely.
And that second episode, gang, it's out, and it immediately rocks pretty hard.
I want to watch this show so bad.
Too many girls.
Anyway, twins.
When they don't win. Oh. All right.
What if two girls kiss one man?
Oh, my dream.
All right, Crunchy.
What if those
you said
two
bad.
girls looked
Guess
the
what
same?
I'm about to say.
You're gonna say this is peak? You're gonna say it's
I
your
certainly
trash?
liked it.
Well, I certainly didn't.
You guys gotta have one romance fucker on every podcast. I'll be here. I'll wave this flag.
I did not watch this one.
So,
all right. So,
Love is Indivisible by Twins. I thought, looking up nothing about the show, I thought this was gonna be, some male fantasy shit. Like, oh, two girls love me at the same time. Wouldn't that be amazing? And like, that's kind of what I was going into this with. Wasn't expecting to like it. I don't really like stuff that's like overly into the dude. I would like it to be a little bit more, normal. And then getting into it, Love is Indivisible by Twins. It's cut in half. It's presented from the twins' perspective. The twins are the perspectives of this show. And you see one of them for the first half, and then the other one for the second half, seeing roughly the same, let's go with 16 years of their life. I don't know what year they are. With this boy, and how they both fall for him, and their thought processes. And I found the presentation very compelling. Have I watched more of this? No. But I liked what I saw. What about you, Crunch?
All right, so my issue with this show is twofold. And
two girls, right?
The first, yeah, there are as many main issues with this show as there are girls. And the first of those issues is the visuals are terrible. Like, actually, what is this? What is this? So it might have. Okay, so just to clarify, for a lot of these shows later on, like I had just come home from work. It was yesterday, and I was like, okay. Normally I watch shows on like my big old monitor, but for this one I was like, well, my back hurts because I've been on my feet for 6 hours. So I'm just gonna lay on my bed and watch it on my rinky-dink, decade-old, tiny screened laptop. And so maybe it was just that, but in the OP, there's literally a shot where the main guy's friend like runs up to him from behind, and when I saw both of them like in the same shot together, I was like, wait, did he just clone himself? Is that the same guy twice? And then I look at it hard and I'm like, wait, no, those are different people. They just look almost identical for some reason. And it's like the art is bad, the animation is very not much. not much to speak of. Look, it looks bad. It's not a great looking show. But secondly, like, granted, I did not finish the episode, but it's like I didn't get to the part where it was like the other girl telling her side of the story. I just saw like the first girl's story.
Yeah, Rumi.
To me, it was just this girl expositing her life for 12 minutes, and I was like, well, that's kind of a boring way to tell that. Like, I wanted to, because I want to be into this idea, right? Like, I enjoy romance when it's done well, and I could see, like, pure romance story with this concept, being kind of nice, being kind of interesting. But the issue is that, like, it's just, I fell in love with this guy, but then, he seems to have this better dynamic with this other girl, and I'm like, did you really need... Well, first of all, it takes way too long to get to this point. Like, did we really need their entire life story to get this across? Like, was that necessary? And secondly, it's like, you're just dryly expositing it. There are way more interesting ways to get this across. You could flash me an image of her melancholically looking at her twin sister talking to the guy, and them being casual with each other, and I would have understood everything that mattered in this backstory. Like, you literally, that would be subtler. It would take less time. It would be the same story, but told good. And that's my problem with it, and that's why I dropped it before we could get to the other girl's story.
To me, a lot of this stuff seems to be framed as key events with that voiceover and loads of drama. Oh God, we're dripping it. It's dripping off the table. There's so much of it. It felt, and this I'm gonna say the word Shakespearean. I don't mean that it's that good, but this feels like a play. It feels like a performance that's being put on. And when we circle back around to Naori, we will see all of these same moments, but from her perspective. And it's still dramatic, but we are pivoting to a new frame. And it's like, Capulets and Montagues, two star-crossed lovers, take their life. It's like, this is all the setup for whatever the fuck episodes 2 through whatever are, and that like it's oozing drama, and also these girls fucking hate themselves, and kind of each other, and there's some real drama in this, and I was like, ooh, I'm a catty bitch, I'll be here for this. That pulled me along, I will say.
See, when you describe it like that, it sounds really good, but then you actually watch it and you're like, but actually this show is like slow and not much happens, and it's like it looks terrible. There's so many things dragging it down that it's just like, well, why would I watch it? There's probably a better version of a story like this out there that could give me, the general experience that watching this would. So why would I watch it when it's not great?
Because it's here and it's available, and my mouth is already open. I might as well let it fall in.
Yeah, except
this is my trash. I will eat it.
You should use your time better. Come on. Well, granted, I can't speak for you, but to me, watching this would feel like a waste of time.
Yeah, you could spend it watching other shows like Twilight Out of Focus. I wouldn't know. I didn't watch it.
Holy shit! Did you watch this, Crunchy?
I watched like a third of it, maybe.
I
third
watched
of the episode.
I watched all of it, and holy shit, this was insane. One, I've never watched a boy love before. I saw their huge fingers, and I went, "Oh, this is gay," and I was not wrong.
I've seen first episodes of not very good boys love stories on this seasonal podcast.
Omegaverse.
Yeah,
Omegaverse one.
That did happen. That is a thing that I remember happening.
I tossed that to a furry friend of mine. I was like, "Here for you."
Why a furry? Was it a gay furry?
Omegaverse. It's so close.
It's probably in their wheelhouse. The furry probably like jumped up like a dog, caught it in their mouth, did a little flip.
Oh my god. So this show, I mean, what happens later to make you so ravenously excited to talk about it?
All right.
Because to me, like, hold on, before we get to that, I'll just tell you my perspective on the show so that you can subvert it. Because what I saw in the first third of this episode is generic gay love story where, you know, okay, the guy, the more dom guy always has blonde, messy hair and is always a bad boy in these stories. In everyone, literally everyone without fail. Like, why are they always blonde? And then, you know, there's the more shy twink. And, you know, he's like, okay, granted, this has more soul than a lot of them in the sense that at the beginning, you know, there's like this bit where they're making promises in front of a video camera and they're like, okay, this guy's my gay roommate. I will never tell anyone that he's gay. 2, this guy's my friend. I'm not gonna fall in love with him or anything like that. And 3, and then, or no, like the twink
we will squeeze the
the twink tries to end the, you know, recording, but the other guy's like, wait, you forgot a vow. Oh yeah, whenever we're about to masturbate, we're gonna give each other privacy, and we're gonna use this squeaky toy and squeak it so that the other guy knows what's about to happen, so that they can get out of the room. And I'm like,
Chekhov's
well,
squeaky
that's
toy.
funny. That's soul. And then like he squeaks the toy. But then we have like the anime wholesome laugh, where it's like, you know, both, you know, he laughs like, oh, you're so cute or whatever. I have grown to loathe the anime wholesome laugh in 90% of scenarios in which it is depicted for whatever reason. Like, it's just a thing that irks me, where it's like, you know, a thing happens and the other guy's like, or whatever. I don't know, for some, it just doesn't, people don't do that in real life. Like, do they do that in real life? I don't think people do that very often in real life, but it happens all the time in not very good anime for some reason. But anyway, after that, like, they established that there's these guys who all look basically the same, and they're in okay, first of all, they're in a drama club, and it's all men. All of them are men, and they're going to do this BL story, this boys love, right? The director is like, all right, we're doing this as our student film. And the other guy, most unrealistic scene of all time, he shows them a boys love manga, and they all immediately love it and understand why they're doing this boys love film. You know, even though at first they were like weirded out and are like, oh, that's gay, bro, that's pretty gay. But then they read it and they're all like, you know, moved to tears, and I'm like, this would not happen. They would all be, if this were a real classroom, they'd still be pointing and laughing and going, haha, gay.
This seems to be a thing. This is a thing that happens a lot, it seems, in anime, where it's like, here is this subversive for our demographic manga, and then they read it and they're like, this is everything to me. that rolled right over me because I was like, this is just that, but for
what
boy
makes
love.
it funnier to me is that I'm imagining the presumed woman who wrote this, or maybe it's just a really gay man, but whoever,
It was
writing this and then
actually
thinking, oh,
uh it was
do you
actually, if
know?
I recall, it is the man who says that they should do a boy love. It's what he wrote.
Wait, it's like one
It's
of
the
their
president. It's the president.
prior.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it was his boys love manga.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm thinking about who wrote the show itself,
Oh,
or like
my bad.
the source material for it,
Yeah, let me look.
and I'm just imagining them like inserting themselves into that scenario. Oh, these hot guys like my manga, or like are super into boys love with me. You know, this thing that I write. I don't know. It's a very amusing image.
Mm.
But yeah, after that I dropped it because it does not look very good, and also, well that's it, and also 3 gay 5 me.
Well, love is love, they say, and this is the first time I have ever watched a boys love, and holy fuck, it got me so good. Let's not talk about romance yet. So the conceit of the show, there is a boys love, or boy love. Please help. Is it boys or boy? There's a boy love production, and everybody thinks that this is peak fiction. This is probably the best thing they've ever read. We got to make this immediately. The president says, I got someone in mind for the lead role. And it happens to be your blondie roommate, Otomo Hizashi. And our lead, Tsuchiya Mao, is like, fuck. If I ask him to be the lead in this boys love, he's gonna think that I blabbed his secret. And he reads the thing, and he's like, he's right. He would be perfect in the role, but I can't ask him that because no one else knows that he's actually for real gay, like for real. And he starts like getting all up in his head about it. He starts imagining him in the role, and all of a sudden he imagines himself opposite him in the role. And sure enough, they do the pushy dominant man trope, and it is very, very hot. And I don't mean like I'm getting hot. I mean in terms of romantic energy and sexual tension, nothing this season gets this intense. And I was like, oh, like it blew me back because I just wasn't ready for that. And Mao's feeling himself. He's like, whoa, where did that come from? Could I be? No, I'm not. And then he goes on, definitely secure in his sexuality. He goes home. He almost asks Otomo the question. He doesn't get around to it. During this, there's a lot of internal monologuing about, I don't actually know who Otomo is. We just hang out in the room together, right? He is this other person to me. I don't know who he is outside of school. So I don't know how to ask him this. He goes in the next day. Otomo is in the drama club, and he's already being asked the question. This causes Mao to panic a little bit, and then Otomo says, too late now, when he's like, I didn't want to, I just didn't know how to ask you, and he says too late now, which is a double entendre. Too late now meaning too late now, you've already spilled my secret, or the actual meaning, which is revealed after a flashback. Too late now, I'm already in the play. So that was cute. I like that little writing thing there. There's a flashback to a moment where Otomo essentially doesn't break his promise, but he comes on to Mao in a drunken stupor, and Mao just freaks out about it because he's like, what is this? What is happening? And knocks Otomo off of him in a scene which is it's odd. It definitely communicates a dommy energy from Otomo, and Mao being a tiny little twink femboy who can't get away from him. But he manages to get away.
BL.
Exactly, yeah. He gets
It's like every one of Crunchy's DMs.
he gets away, and Ultimo says, "I'm really sorry." Mao says, "Nah, it's fine. We're bros. We're bros, dude. We're bros. It's fine. Dudes can hang out. They can bro. They can bro down."
It's not gay if the balls don't touch.
Followed by Ultimo going, "No, it's not okay. I am gay. I would do that. I would do that for real." And then this is what
I would touch balls.
and this is the impetus for that original scene with them taking the video. The video, of course, being Mao's idea. Mao says this statement, which Ultimo keeps in his head: "I never lie when I'm on camera." That's the reason why they recorded it at all. So we see a little bit into Ultimo past this point when they're back in their room after the "too late now, I've already accepted the role." Ultimo says, like, "Nah, dude, like, I don't know much about you. You said that thing about the camera, I never lie on camera." And I was like, what? Because I don't really have hobbies. I don't get up to much. And anytime I'm asked to go out with you, with like your buds or your drama friends, I don't, because like, I don't know, he's shy essentially. But I want to get to know more about you. I want to see what it is about the camera that draws you to it. And they're watching movies together and they're on the same bed, and it's totally normal for Ultimo. But for Mao, he's having a little bit of an awakening, you see. And there's this come to Jesus moment where he realizes, holy shit, I love this guy. And in this moment, Ultimo gets a call from a character who has not come up, but we heard about within that first minute, his boyfriend. There is a secret third to this love triangle. And he takes off, leaving Mao just in a heap on the bed going, "Oh no, I'm so very gay for Ultimo." And again, I've never seen a boys' love before. It's perfectly possible that all this is extremely generic and normal. But for me, the amount of heat, the amount of energy, both sexual and dramatic, that was put on this really knocked me on my ass. This was the most romantic thing that happened in this season, and fuck, it got me good. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a convert, but I see the appeal.
All right, now question: did your fiance have anything to do with this? Or...
She didn't see it. No.
Wait. Okay. I was gonna say, I the way that you were going on so passionately about this, despite not being a fan of the BL genre, made me think that your fiance was just handing you cue cards throughout this whole segment.
You're literally acting like the guys in the club after they read their first BL. You literally are them.
I'm telling you. I like romance, as Crunchy has illustrated. Stuff that you would poo-poo, I am eating up. I love this shit. And this one, turning it all the way up, I was like, oh my. Oh my, this might be it. This might be my trash as well.
So anyway, I thought it was like kind of generic. I don't know, like 3 or 4 out of 10. Not very good.
I since I did not have time, I opted to not watch this one. It sounds like I didn't miss much.
Yeah.
I say it's a 6 out of 7. It's great.
But
Listen
did you
to
watch
me, goddammit.
My Wife Has No Emotion?
I have so much to fucking say.
I'm curious about Neon. I really hope Neon has seen it.
I hate to break it. I didn't see this one. I am sad that I didn't see this one because I did want to have an opinion.
Neon, this is one of the worst shows of the season. This is in my bottom 3. Spoiler alert. This is terrible.
I've heard it was bad.
It made me so angry so many times.
I did not make it through the episode.
But I thought I couldn't possibly hate it. I mean, it's saying what we're all thinking.
Which is?
Are what that
women are incapable of feeling anything.
No, it's saying that
Not
women,
quite.
even if literally machines, are capable of love.
So I have a history with this show, kind of, because in Barnes and Noble, right? Sometimes I peruse the contents of the bookshelves, seeing if I want to buy anything. And this manga would always stick out to me because the title, My Wife Has No Emotion, and I thought, man, that's really interesting. So you're dating this girl that like either doesn't
my
display
dream girlfriend
emotions or doesn't feel emotions, which, you know, both of which are things that real people do experience. Like there is, you know, a very rare condition where people can literally just are biologically incapable of feeling emotion. And I'm like, okay, so that's interesting. But then I read, you know, the little blurb on the back that it's like, yeah, so anyway, she's a robot. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of lame though. I want it to be like a real person, a real human being who I can feel attached to and who I can, you know, get interested in the struggles of. But instead, it's like literally a robot. And it is like, you know, unlike in Eitoria, or Eitori rather, where it's implied that she may feel emotions and where there's sort of an interesting push and pull there. With this, she is very much a machine. Like, she's not the high, you know, in Eitori, she's like the highest grade model, most human robot. In this one, she's like just some junky robot he bought with the pittance he gets at work. And I'm like, okay, so she is not sentient. She is literally as sentient as your toaster or your laptop. She is not human. But this guy falls in love with a robot, with a vacuum cleaner.
I wrote...
Okay, well, all right, well, it's in his defense, Crunch. My toaster does not have a face and arms and legs and a human-sized body to make faces
right
with.
But I have something for that as well, Neon. You see, there's this thing called emotional labor where you have to put on an affect for your work, and this robot's job is cooking and cleaning. And he is falling in love with her.
Is all women. What's the difference?
Neon, right. You keep digging this hole for yourself. What is it with your rampant
Eventually, this pattern
this
just becomes real.
Listen, when I haven't seen an anime, the only thing, my default setting is just bring out the sexist card.
Maybe we should unpack that. Do you wanna talk about it? Anyway.
This wouldn't be the first time someone has accused Neon of being an ist on this podcast.
The robot is performing its job, and he falls in love with her because of its job. Like, yes, it is a machine. This is akin to a man blushing when the toaster pops out the toast. But because it's got a face, I'll say she has a face. I'll give it personage. Because she has a face, he falls in love with her, and it's like, bro, she's just doing her fucking job, man. Like, can you just be fucking normal for a moment?
Well,
male disaster, motherfucker.
It's not even just that. It's that, okay, so Neon was like, oh, you know, maybe she emotes. Maybe she does not emote. She is literally
she cannot.
How may I serve you, master?
Cannot stress this
toast.
Enough. She cannot.
I will get the toast for you.
Have y'all seen the movie Her?
No.
This is doing something very similar, yes.
Yeah, so like in that one, there's not even a body to go with that one. That dude just falls in love with his Siri and just wants to be in a relationship with a Siri.
But see,
so it's
that okay. But what made that I'm assuming movie good? Like, what would you say are the appeals of that movie?
Seeing how this weirdo eschews human connection in favor of this AI connection.
There's also a bit of a power dynamic thing in Her and in this one, where like she is a machine, she is ordered by him to do things. She is beholden to that. To say nothing of Her's ending, which we don't need to get into, but it goes to some real sci-fi places.
So what it sounds like you're saying is that Her is aware that the main character is a weirdo. That maybe that is part of its intentional, deliberate theming that it is trying to get out of you. Would you say that about Her? Would you say that it is aware of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think this show is aware of how creepy its main character is.
I think
this show is trying to be wholesome. And that's the issue. It's not. It's really, really sad. It's a really depressing. Okay, this is the saddest anime.
Okay, is the robot capable of like understanding, like,
maybe,
and adapting to like his request?
Yes, she
a
is.
Little bit.
Understanding is a weird thing to say because if she doesn't have thoughts, she doesn't inherently understand.
Okay, think about it like ChatGPT. ChatGPT has no emotions, but it adapts to your language. And it adapts to specific users. It is literally that. And so, she's not
But does ChatGPT got that robo pussy?
She probably wasn't even made with it.
No, she doesn't have anything.
I don't know, man. Bro, ain't no way they made a female maid robot and didn't give her built-in sex functions. Well, otherwise, what's the point?
No, that's what Super Mina is for. You'll learn about that in episode 3. No, this thing.
Episode 3?
I've watched 4 episodes of this shit.
Why?
I kept going because I want. I did not like it, but I was like, there are so many things this could be. I'm gonna keep going. Most like Neon mentions her. This does have a lot in common with her, and her is good. So I was like, is this gonna go places? I can tell you now, watching 4 episodes. No. There are some problems that I have with the guy that are assuaged by watching more, but
well, see, what makes this show feel so sad is that, okay, so think about it like this. The main character, he's overworked, he does not get paid very well, and so, he's lonely, lacking romance in his life, and so when he at first I thought it was going in the direction of, like, Senko, and it is trying to, I think, because he goes home and it's like, oh, I have this robot that takes care of me. But in Senko, she wasn't a robot. She was like an actual, well, not person, but person adjacent, a fox god, and had like an emotional response to things, could be talked to, could have, a dynamic develop between them. With this, it's just some like robot who does not feel or display emotion, who says, yes, master, I will do this for you, I will cook. And he every time I see this guy talk to this robot, I just think like he's having a dynamic with himself, in a sense.
Yep.
He is literally talking to a toaster that says, yes, master, and then like reacting in just strangely, like he's weirdly fallen head over heels in love with this robot, but it's played for wholesomeness, except that the color palette isn't warm and fuzzy like Senko. It's like cold and dark and isolating and metallic.
Like her eyes.
Yeah, it feels so barren and empty, and just, this show is depressing. This is so it's soul-sucking. It really is. Like, watching this felt like, it literally felt like Harry Potter and the Dementors. Like a Dementor had just given me the kiss, and now I can feel nothing, and will never recover. Like, that is what this show feels like.
There are a couple of fundamental questions one fundamental question that is being asked in this first episode and throughout the show so far. Is this robot actually, do she be thinking? And it's kind of a nightmare no matter what. Cause like, if she's just a full-on machine, then this guy is a fucking weirdo. A complete like male disaster, fell in love with a machine doing its job, and because it's a machine and he orders it, he can order it to do whatever and it will do it. Or if she's capable of thought, now it's a wife that you bought, and he's like, hey, do you want to get married? And she's like, well, yes, absolutely, that sounds awesome. And it's like, okay, and it's like, but you still order her around, and
we'll see. Here's the thing, though. If the idea is that she may be sentient, terrible job of convincing me of it. She is not sentient. She is a toaster. She does not act with autonomy over her actions. She does not act like she responds to anything authentically. You know, in Atri, it's like there was an actual debate. There is an actual chance that this thing is sentient to some degree. And furthermore, the main character of that show, like, treated her with, like, at first it was like, oh, you know, she's just some machine. But as it went on, he was like, treating her more and more like a person, giving her gifts, missing her when she gets taken away on motorbike. And then, you know, when she comes back, we don't get any sense that he will start ordering her around like some kind of slave or maid. We get the sense that he'll start treating her like a friend.
Yeah.
That's what this guy would do. That's what it feels like. It's like, and it's also, you know, if we're trying to establish that she has like actual autonomy, what directly contradicts that is the, you know, at the beginning of the show, it said, this robot is junk. It sucks. It only cooks and cleans. These are its only two functions. That's its purpose in life. And it's like, why would that be autonomous? Why is this even a debate? You have not convinced me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think this is very good.
He literally fell in love with a vacuum cleaner and a dishwasher combined, and it happens to walk and kind of talk. It's very, very sad.
not gonna say it.
I think this fucking thing is completely pathetic. And by thing, I mean the guy.
From what it sounds like they're not playing it up with the sincerity of, man, if this were like a real person, they're idealizing this sad, pathetic relationship.
What I want this show to turn into
is played straight.
Someone...
It's not sad.
What I want to happen is like end
it
of
should be
episode
sad,
1.
but they're treating it like it's like a Senko thing where it's like, hey, it's perfectly okay to have like a person come into your life and totally baby you because you're too incapable or inept at taking care of yourself. So you got to live the fantasy of someone else coming in and becoming like the housewife for you.
Well, see, more than that, it's just that it's, you know, Senko, I do like 6 out of 10, but, you know, with that, like, she's a person. Like, she's a character. This robot is fundamentally not a character. She's not a human. I don't buy into her her autonomy. And so, it's like, it's not warm and fuzzy. It's just isolating. It's a very lonely experience to watch this show, and I just need someone in this guy's life to barge into his apartment, shake him by the shoulders, say, hey, this ain't good, and then beat that robot to death with a baseball bat, because no, she is not a human, she is a toaster, and you can beat toasters to death with a baseball bat, and it will not do anything.
Well, what if she gains sentience, Crunchy?
Let me tell you some things about the future. There is a character who will discover their relationship. They are a interspecies fetishist. They're absolutely for this shit. So, that's not happening.
Dude, what? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you encourage this behavior?
Listen, man. Once we get fuckable robots that can emulate anime girl voices, it's over.
I think
I like women,
robots
though.
will be the downfall of humanity if they ever become a thing. That's I am adamantly opposed to the idea, actually. I think that sounds like a dystopia.
Crunchy, if you got one that sounded like Hifumi from New Game.
Look, I'm not saying I would resist the temptation. What I am saying is that it would be very, very sad. We would not be in a good place as a species if that occurred.
I suppose.
That is my Crunchy lore for the day. Those are my ideals about humanity.
I think Japan's underpopulation issue would be exacerbated to the point of, well, it already is dangerous for them, but I can't imagine this helping.
Speaking of things that are a detriment to society, VTubers.
That's a good segue. I like it.
We got VTuber legend, how I went viral after forgetting to turn off my stream. This could have been good.
It's okay.
It made me laugh, I will say.
There's one bit that made me laugh, but otherwise it's like... it's granted, I expected to drop this halfway through, and I stuck it out to the end on normal speed, which is, an accomplishment for me.
An achievement.
Frankly. Yeah. And so for that, I can say it was better than expected, but there are things about it that annoy me, and it feels like for every ounce of soul it also has just a little bit of being too generic and or just not well written. Like it's
Listen, man,
complicated.
any show that has its main character be a female gooner, I am 100% behind.
I wasn't expecting any of those words.
Those words aren't in the
shattered
Bible.
Me. yeah. It's basically I was like, I didn't know an anime could say these things.
She curses like a sailor. Is an alcoholic. Is her alcohol addiction is crippling her finances. And she goons, yeah, like Dream Woman alert.
See, the thing is, the way you describe it, she sounds completely unhinged. And another character even describes her, like her manager at this VTubing thing, describes her as unhinged. But when you watch the show, it doesn't feel as unhinged as it should be. There are moments where it does, but the overall package feels like it's kind of... I don't know how to describe it, but the directing isn't quite making it feel as ridiculous as it should be. And because of that, like, the presentation isn't all there, and not all the jokes work. And so it's just this push and pull of like, well, I want to like it, because conceptually it seems funny, but then you actually watch it and you're like, I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
I've got a really big question about this show. Now, I'm not a fan of VTubers. I'm not like turned off by them, but I
am
just
turned
don't
off
like...
by them. I am actively, I hate the voices the English ones do. Every one of them tries to sound like a cutesy anime girl, and it grinds my gears.
I don't like the trend that people like have adopted VTubers as stand-ins for themselves, because they understand that it's much more marketable to be a sexy anime babe than to be your real self. And granted, I might be throwing stones from a glass house because I have my avatar when I stream and be on YouTube, be a cartoon manta.
I mean, if you're in a glass house, my house is made of air. Just look at me.
Well, yeah,
I don't even have a house.
You completely changed your gender. Yeah. But
Crunchy is trans confirmed.
Yeah, at least I have the guise of,
wow,
I'm not trying to make my character sexy, I'm just trying to make it a fun mascot, and I have no qualms of showing my true self online.
I don't think that VTubers have to be hot or sexy or cute as a rule, but that certainly is what they all are. I just don't. I'm
just saying, why do y'all know who the streamer Giwi is? Have you ever heard of him? They collab with Jaden Animations a lot.
Giwi.
No.
How do we spell?
I think they're Giwi. It's like Kiwi, but with a G instead of a K. Her avatar is just like a demon girl with her titties out.
Oh yeah.
And it has tit physics.
Perfect.
Listen, I'm not saying, if I'm just, you chase that bag. I'm just saying that if you give your VTuber titty physics, you should not be, you cannot complain about being objectified ever.
I'm gonna put titty physics on some like earlobes on a VTuber avatar when I get one.
If I ever make a 3D VTuber out of my Manta avatar, I want to give titty physics to the little fin things at the top of the head.
Like you were saying titty physics, we're just discussing jiggle. I will make the ears jig.
I mean,
which I guess like
on this topic that
yeah.
isn't entirely related to the show. Like, I mean, I personally find it kind of trashy when people do that. When they're like, "Hey, here, look at this sexy anime girl that you then watch stream all day." I'm like, I don't know, something about that just feels a little off-putting to me personally.
They're appealing to the gooners.
Yeah, I say go with God.
I don't like feeling appealed to in the gooner way. because I
Yeah,
am
like,
not
I'm not
one.
gonna.
Yeah, it's like what's that saying? You're never supposed to make fun of as the court jester, like something about making fun of the king.
I don't know.
How's that saying goes?
I feel like I've heard that before, but I could not tell it to you off the top of my head.
If yeah, I need to go. It's gonna drive me. If the emperor's pants, I want to say. Oh yeah, the emperor has no clothes.
Ah.
Oh, that thing. Okay.
Yeah. You're not supposed to point it out.
It's because it's close.
You're not supposed to point out that
so yeah,
VTubers
the
are for
anyways.
gooners.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that. And to bring this whole thing back around, the benefit of not having to put your face on stream is that you can wear whatever you want when you're doing a live stream, as long as you make sure you got that camera off and put away. Sometimes I'll admit, sometimes when I stream, I just be straight up in my boxers. I don't give a fuck. You can't see. No one will know.
Have you guys?
Do VTubers dress up as themselves?
No,
when they
no, they don't.
live
No, they don't.
stream?
No, that's a stylistic
Okay,
choice.
so
Okay,
why
Dion?
is she dressed up as herself then?
A stylistic choice,
I-
just so that you know
Okay.
who it is.
It doesn't make
I-
sense to me.
So what? So Neon, you probably saw this. There was a big rant in my server that I had to put under spoiler tags and specifically tell you don't click this. It'll spoil something for the podcast. That was me molding about why they looked the same. They literally look, and this is every VTuber. Every VTuber in this show looks the same in real life as they do online. Now, eventually I figured out this is non-diegetic. They are just showing them like this as you said, a stylistic choice. You know, there's one Kitsune VTuber with fireballs that float even in the real world, and I'm like, okay, obviously they don't think this is real. Counterpoint, it's lame as hell that we don't get to see the real versions of these people and their VTuber selves, because seeing the real versions of themselves would make me feel so much more attached
Let
to
me
the
see
characters.
the unhinged alcoholic gooner that I know this bitch is in real life. I want to see her unkempt, disheveled hair, her glasses. I want to see her pouting back those beers. You know what? They could have just made her the big-titted girl from what was it? Mysterious Disappearances last season. I believe that she'd be a VTuber.
And see, like, the result of this stylistic decision is that everything in the show has this almost air of unreality to it in a strange way.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at the IRL sequences, you're like, well, I'm not actually seeing what it would look like in real life.
Yeah, when she made the phone call to her manager, and then we see the manager on the other end of the line, and they're doing the anime thing where they're purposely obscuring her face and not giving her face any identifiable traits. It's just hair covering it. I was like, oh, okay. The show will not allow me to attach to reality in any kind. So you've taken this fun concept and now driven it into the fucking dirt. So bye bye.
This feels like a show for VTuber fans who are into the unreality of VTubing, but I am not one of those. I want to see real characters, damn it. Real ass characters.
So,
I think a better version of this show would be that one. It's like it was a radio one. I forget what the name of his called. It's like something
talk show
about like the
radio. Yeah, it was. What was that?
Yeah, like the blonde gal who got famous by just going on rants, and people were like, man, I like her.
Here's
like I
Wave,
want to like this show
Wave,
so bad,
listen to
dude,
me.
but it's not. Like when
One moment. Let's.
Okay.
We have talked a lot of smack about VTubers. We've actually said nothing about the show at all.
I mean, we've said a little bit.
We were just talking about the show.
What I mean is like its content.
I was talking about his content just now.
Okay.
Well, I was about to go into it because there are moments of soul. Like, okay, there's this moment where the VTuber that the main character goons to, she's playing this like I love it. This shitty presumed like Steam game for like I don't know, probably $2 or something cheap like that, maybe for free. probably just reusing assets from other games, and it's like this fighting game between like just phallic shaped food, so sausage v sausage, sausage v banana, and there's like different kinds, and it's like, it's stupid, but that's also totally something I could see an actual streamer streaming to their audience. And I'm like, okay,
I can picture Gargura doing that right now.
Like this show has an awareness of the internet and internet culture, and that absolutely is, like, that's cool. I like that. There's this little bit where it shows the main girl beating up a pixelated like beer can in a fighting game-esque thing. And I'm like, that's Soul, that's directing. That's
Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
And also, so, like, the ASMR sequence, which is it's just straight up ASMR. Like, if you're wearing headphones, which I was, you will be transported to that world. And I was like, wow, they're really doing this. Like, they're trying.
I watch ASMR, not this specific kind, but like other kinds. Not very good. I give it a, I don't know, 4 out of 10. They should have made the like ear picking noises louder or whatever, but it's like really quiet compared to the dialogue, and so it's not actually ASMR because you can barely hear it. Anyway, that's my 2 cents personally. As probably the only person who could pick up on that. Or maybe you're into it too.
Trash.
Do you have any confessions, Super Dude?
ASMR does work on me, but I do not chase it. I do not chase the feeling. I was just like,
don't you have a fiance to do that for you?
Well, I've never asked.
I mean, it's kind of weird to ask someone, hey, want to ASMR for me?
Hey babe, do you want to just...
No, you don't have to ask him to ASMR. Just ask him to whisper into your ear.
Babe, you want to whisper
lay
in
on
my...
your lap while they clean your ear out for you? Like, can't you just do that?
She would never do that.
You don't need someone else to pretend to do that for you?
She would have so much anxiety vis-a-vis cleaning my ears.
I wouldn't want anyone to actually do that. I'd be afraid of them, like, poking my eardrum.
Exactly. Like, this is a fantasy.
It is the unreality of it that makes it appealing, not the idea of it actually happening. No one should touch my ears, but we're digressing a bit here.
Ears are off limits. Well, you know what? Speaking of ears,
uh-huh.
Plus size elf. The elf trend in anime is going on.
Fucking nightmare. I hated this.
You know what? It's another 10-minute episode, and for that, I do give it some props in not wasting as much of my time as I expected it would. I did watch the whole episode, mostly on 2x speed, but you know, the whole episode, I got through it all. I stuck it all the way through, which I would not have done if it was 22 minutes. Anyway, it was abysmal.
I said this.
Yeah.
I said this off mic, but this one was my 9/11. I knew that I was going to fucking hate this. So I was belaboring the point, and my fiance graciously said, let's watch it together. So just for...
Oh, you brave soul, you soldier, you champion.
So just for everybody in the crowd, and you two, know that I watched this show with a woman beside me, and we had some collective notes. One?
I would imagine so.
Here are her notes. I will go ahead and say them now. Show looks like poo-poo dog water. If you're going to make porn, make it look good.
True.
Second note, they have no fucking clue what it means to be overweight. It's simply
true.
This is complete dog shit. Like, she goes to lose weight. This is the impetus for her meeting the main character. Like, oh, I gotta lose weight because the portal only works if you're roughly the same BMI. Sure, why not? She loses all of this extra weight, and she's...
In a month.
Yeah, in a month. In a month, she loses...
And gains it back in a day.
Yep. Like, there is no understanding of what it actually... of the effort, nor the... Like, you cannot gain weight in a day. You will sooner die from what you're doing to yourself before you will gain all of that weight in a single day. And in a... Like, losing 2 pounds a week is... dangerous, but doable. That is what we are working with. And I don't know where she was or where she's been, but she's
That bitch lost more than 2 pounds per week in that month of time.
exactly. What was the third note? Oh yeah. Yeah, fries are that good. That was her third note.
Yeah, I mean, fries are that good. If we're believing these to be McDonald's fries, I don't blame her for the addiction. If left unchecked, I could be slamming that shit back.
There might be one fry superior, and if you guys haven't had a KFC fry, give it a try. But
I have not had KFC in the longest time because KFC is ass here.
Oh, well,
I'm a Popeyes boy.
yeah, I'm more north. I all I have here is KFC. I don't got no Chick-fil-A. I don't got no Popeyes.
You got no Chick-fil-A?
Nope.
God
Nope,
damn.
just KFC.
Where do you live where there's no Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, I thought that shit was national.
Please dox your exact address.
IP.
All right, I live at 44867. Yeah. I live in the Midwest, and I know there are.
Hold on, please quickly. Those aren't any numbers in your actual address, correct?
No, they are not. No.
Okay.
I guess I should have said 69420. Yeah, no.
The combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I live in the Midwest, and there are definitely Chick-fil-A's around, but they're more West Virginia bound. They're souther than I am. Here where I live, there's not a Chick-fil-A
I live in
for
Illinois,
miles.
and there's a Chick-fil-A within driving distance, like within reasonable driving distance, like maybe 20 minutes.
I'm rural, so I too
am rural.
Oh, 20 minutes isn't a bad drive. Yeah, I don't have one for hours and hours.
God damn.
Must just be the luck of the draw. But man, we really got off topic. Anyway, plus size elf, it's not good.
Okay, speaking of health, right? So the gain. Okay, so the losing weight and gaining weight, I can see why it bothers you. It doesn't necessarily bother me that much, just because, like, okay, gaining all the weight back in one day, it's for a joke, fine.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker.
What sends me about this show, what really sends me about it, it is really bad messaging. Granted, if you get your life advice from this show, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why?
Your life was probably spiraling to begin with.
But that doesn't mean it's not a bad message for... Okay, so the main character of this show is like a medical quack. He is like... He tells the girl, okay, what you need to lose weight is dieting restrictions, exercise, and osteopathy. Or osteopathy, or however you say it, osteopathy. Right? And what that is, to my understanding... pseudoscientific quack nonsense. Is like if someone said, hey, if you want to, I don't know, do anything, please, here, I'll read your palm for you and we'll take the next steps forward. Oh my god, you're a Cancer? Sorry, I can't talk to you. It is like on that level, right? It's basically this idea, his massage clinic, right? She goes to the clinic to like, hey, give me a massage that'll like hit the right, I don't know, acupressure points or whatever to make me lose weight faster, which is maybe why she lost it in a month. I don't know, but
it's not real.
It's like,
it's all just an excuse
Asian,
to touch the tummy.
It's like, yeah, it's none of it. Obviously, this would not work in real life. Like this is, it's like Asian massage parlor quack shit. Where, you know, you're like, hey, we'll give you this massage, but instead of just to make you feel good, we'll say, I'll hit the right pressure points that will make your chakras flow to the right areas. There are, once again, it all loops back to ASMR. As an ASMR massage connoisseur, I am extremely familiar with, like, really, really quack pseudoscience stuff. Like, I have seen a woman tell someone who they're about to massage, or like, I think it was like also like some energy stones shit. She was like, yeah, this will like rearrange your quantum whatever. And as soon as I heard the word quantum come out of her mouth, I'm like, okay, so this is literally just word salad. Like, she is literally spinning nonsense word salad. And osteopathy however you pronounce it, is like adjacent to that, slightly less obviously quack, but still the idea that he is recommending this woman to pay for quack treatments. I'm like, that is offensive to me. That is like, come on. Why?
Yeah, it's purely just the fat fetishism. Like I was mentioning that to one of my friends who
chubby chasers rise up.
Yeah, I was mentioning this to a friend who did not watch the show and is also just a tad bit innocent. And she was like, "Well, yeah, you got to touch the boobs." And I went, "No. To touch the tummy in the fat, we got to get in there. We got to grab it up." And like, sure, I've seen anime be more naked. God, I should choose a better word. I've seen anime try less for their fetish. But I'm just like, oh, okay. The art is bad. The writing is bad. It's not good advice. Not that it needs to be. Who's here for advice? And it's just fetish material, and it's not very good fetish material. One thing I did like, when the characters were naked, the censors had their faces on them. I thought that was funny.
Not an uncommon thing to do.
I thought it was funny, and that was it.
You watched the censored version?
I am no coward.
Same.
I watched it censored because I was like, nah, I don't need that.
Oh, you didn't get the authentic experience with your fiance.
I didn't need it, guys. It's fine. I know what boobs look like. I'm not that hard off.
Hey, I know what boobs look like too, man. I got a girlfriend.
I was just like, I don't care.
I don't.
I already
What
know
do
that
boobs
this isn't
look
gonna
like?
work.
You should tell me. I watched the show uncensored, but I forgore. You should
Imagine a circle.
Please tell me in excruciating detail.
Imagine a circle. Now imagine another circle. And now imagine a yet smaller circle.
Imagine a balloon, and you're holding it facing the little, like, tied little end part. That.
It's a little weird, because it looks visually like the tied part, but
this
it's
is very
more like
illuminating,
the other
you
A lot
side.
firmer. So sometimes it's like poking inside the balloon somehow.
That's alien. That's not real. That's a hoax. And finally, these things actually weigh, and they will sag. They tell you otherwise. This is a myth.
Unlike an anime. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
And that is why Konosuba has the best tit physics in all of anime.
Perfect. Yeah, I watched it censored mostly because I just didn't need it. It's fine. I got it at home.
I mean, the only reason anyone would goon to this show is because it has fat characters and it has fat girls. We don't really get fat girls in anime because the point of anime girls is that they got to be as cute or as sexy as possible. But you ask the average Joe Schmo, they're gonna say there's not much cute or sexy about a fat girl,
and they're wrong.
I mean, to each their own. If I had my, if I could build my perfect 1000% fantasy dream girl, I would sooner rather be physically, like, muscularly toned and fit before I had her be chubby, but
she can be both.
I would not.
She can be both, actually. Fun fact.
I mean, they can be both, but I'm saying if we're talking, you're building the female Princess Charming, then
look, all I'm saying is if you're fat and a woman, you should kill yourself.
All right. I do not endorse this. I'm going out in opposition.
Wow, I can't believe you do that,
aren't...
super dude. Man, I can't believe you disagree.
I can't believe you're gonna throw him under the bus like that.
What the hell, super dude?
I thought we were taking a stand together.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm a coward. Now you know.
Well, yeah, that's about all the merit that this show has. If you need your chubby chasing fix, then more power to you. I would probably read the manga over this.
I would probably not touch it.
Also, I feel like there's probably better out there. Honestly, like.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I'm sure that hentai, like straight up, just a straight up hentai, probably has better chubby chases if you got
So
it.
true.
Better fat girls.
That's how I feel about most ecchi in general. It's like, why not just do it all, man? If you're gonna, go all the way.
Look, what I've learned from this experience is that it's all about the thrill of the chubby chase. Those are my parting thoughts.
That was good. I'm gonna write that down.
All right. Well, I did not go watch Narenare Cheer for You, although I wanted to. It was on my radar.
Did you, Crunchy?
I did, in fact, watch it. It's one of the last shows I actually did watch. I dropped it very quick. Very quickly. And the reason why...
Didn't PA Works make like 3 different originals this year? Or this season, rather?
Did they? Which ones were they?
I could have swore... I think they did this one, didn't they?
Yes, they did do this one.
I know they did that and Mayonaka Punch.
I did not watch Mayonaka Punch.
Some of us did.
See,
okay. This one wasn't original, but they also did Sakuna.
So you can kind of tell they're spread a little thin on animators because this show does not look good. It looks very bad, actually. The animation is stilted.
Really?
The art is not very good, and for some reason, the lines on the characters are, they often change colors, but not in a way that looks good. There are shows that have done that well.
Oh.
But in the first scene, for example, like the lines are super, bright cyan, and I'm like, this doesn't look good though. Looks kind of bad, actually. Looks kind of ass. The backgrounds look atrocious. The backgrounds are like this weirdly eclectic mishmash of styles with a really putrid color palette. It's like very violet, I guess. Or, I mean, violet is probably the wrong word because it's not like strikingly violent, but it feels like purpley hued in a weird sort of way without literally being purple. Or I guess violet more so. It just feels off. Every part of this show visually does not coalesce into a cohesive whole. There's like strange CG abominations in the background coupled with like hand-drawn trees. It's really odd. Really weird to look at. I hate how this show looks and cannot stand it.
The show opens with an extended cheer sequence, which I guess we should say this is a sports anime, a cheerleading anime, and it begins with an extended sequence before we really get to anything related to story or dialogue of a cheer. And pretty much this whole thing is done in CGI, and it does not look good whatsoever. It has all the problems CGI has.
So this scene, like, in concept, I don't think is a very good idea. However, it would become a good idea if it looked good. If it looks good, I'll watch it and be like, hey, it's, nothing narratively is hooking me, but it looks pretty, maybe
yeah, I think
if
like,
it looks good, you're kind of edging me into the show, edging me into the action, and then you watch it in CG and you're like, why am I sitting here watching CG dolls do cheerleading?
Yeah, it's like animation exists to be stylistic. If we're gonna do a cheer, let's make it visually exciting. More exciting than a cheer, which, by the way, it already has girls throwing themselves into the air doing acrobatic feats. It's already a pretty intense thing. So the bar is kind of high, and instead we got these fucking marionette dolls moving really robotically and sluggishly and everything. It's like, yes, I get the sense of presence because you're doing it in 3D, but God, it just fucking looks like robots, guys. It doesn't look like anything. It's a terrible way to lead the show. And then, of course, there is a little bit of she's thrown into the air. There seems to be some chaos below her. And then we cut into the show in earnest, where we see that line art that Crunchy mentioned. I liked the general direction of the art here. I liked how bubbly it was. Everything was very, very bright all the time.
But it's not bright in an appealing way. Like, when I think of visually appealing bright color palettes, I think like do it yourself or something, or like most good looking shows. But with this one, it's just like it's like I say Violet, like,
one show and then good shows.
and then good shows, yeah. I mean, to be fair, most shows have a fairly bright color palette, all things considered. But this, like, I don't know, this doesn't feel poppy to me. It feels, like I said, violet, strangely. Like, it's, once again, without even really being violet, at least from the first scene I saw. Granted, what could be throwing me off is the line art, which is, I mean, I'm looking at screenshots right now, is definitely violet.
Yeah.
But
it changes from scene to scene. Like, depending on what the major color of the background is, the line art will reflect it. And it does lead to this... It's just the backgrounds, right? Like,
it feels oppressive.
It's always sunny.
Like,
it's warm in the evenings. Everything becomes washed in a color.
See, like,
it's a choice.
Like, that can be done well. That has, in fact, been done well before. And if this show, like, here's the thing, the stuff with coloring the lines, I can imagine a version of that where it's, like, an interesting stylistic decision. But you have to really put oomph into it. You gotta really make it look good. And this show does not look good. It looks stilted and bad, and I dropped it very quickly. Actually, it was after the girl, right? So this one girl's, like, running around, and she jumps over
girl.
An entire person. The height of an entire person walking. And I'm like, what? How? I mean, it's technically possible. I had to look up, like, how high, like, what's the highest anyone has jumped? It's 8 feet. For the men.
Did you see her
I have not
scaling
seen the
a building?
record. Yeah, I did see that. It's all very goofy. But even, like, I guess it only really hit me just how stupid it was when she jumped over an entire person, and I was like, that can't happen. Hold on. Like,
at the very
that girl is like, at the very end of it, yeah. Of her just...
At the very end of the episode, a girl jumps, like, fucking 20 feet up. It gets completely unhinged. God.
That would have been insane to see. But, like... Okay, I don't know exactly here. How highest a woman has jumped. Because I know the men's record, but I don't know... the woman's ones.
Hold on, I zoned out. Why are we talking about how high women can jump in regards to this show?
Okay, so this girl over a woman.
Jumps over an entire person. All right, so the highest a woman has ever jumped, according to the first Google result, is
the girl doing a somersault into the window.
8 feet. So 6.8 feet.
She can do it.
And it's possible, but
she can do it.
Like, let's imagine that this girl is like,
why is this
4'7".
a point against the show?
Yeah, I mean, it's animation's an imaginative medium. Let's let her jump. I think it's funny. Like, you are caught up on her jumping over a person. I thought it was more notable that she just, from a side of a school where there shouldn't be any handholds, she just scales the fucking building. It was getting more and more ridiculous, her feats of parkour. I was just, oh, and we're here. Sure, let her do it, I guess.
True. I mean, well, the thing is, this isn't played for laughs. That's why I belabor the point. It's like, oh man, she's so cool at parkour. And I'm like, no human being would do this. No human being can do this. Even the most athletic person, like, I don't think could do this or pull it off. It's just weird.
I know that it's gonna, like, given that this is a cheer anime, Obunai is going to be, what would they call it? They're gonna try and bring her into the fold. She's gonna be, like, the exceptional one. And that's what it, like, they're showing her stellar feats, her superhuman feats of acrobatics, to try and get her, into the cheer squad. Yeah, it doesn't really, I don't find it so bothersome, just because, like, it's cartoonish. literally and figuratively. I was just like, yeah, sure, why not?
It just didn't feel very cartoonish to me, is the thing. It's just kind of like, this just wouldn't happen. It's just goofy.
So soon after this point, the show is going to introduce like 8 characters. It introduces literally everyone that needs to be introduced in this first episode. We got Obunai, Anna, Nodoka, Mizora, Shion, and they're all introduced back to back, and you have no time to really get a hold of any of them. Anna is the standout because she's a white woman, and I mean that as in, like, she is actively showing off her foreignness. She slips over her Japanese. She greets people in the French way. She doesn't have a sense for body space, personal space, that's the word. She was fun and different. As is Obunai, the parkour one. Not in terms of her behavior, she's cool and collected, that's obvious, but the parkour is nuts. And yeah, it's just the main character, Mizora, is being thrown all over the fucking place. Because there are 5 to 6 other girls with their own shit going on that you have to account for. And it kind of felt unfocused. I like the art. I thought it was warm and nice. I am in opposition, but I will not keep watching this because I don't give a shit about cheerleading, guys. But I bet, like, I think that this has some shit to it. The characters are alive, and they're all different. The art is trying things, even if you don't like it. The line art is certainly a choice. And it's a fucking sports anime. If you're here for that, you're here for that. But not me. I said this before with what was it, Rising Impact? I'll say it again here. Probably great for the people who like it. It seems competent.
Well, that is an opinion on the show. It's not mine, but
I currently have no opinion because I did not watch it.
But did
just
you
like I
watch?
didn't watch
okay, well there we go.
I'll do the intro.
Just like I didn't watch. Yeah, Dungeon People. First we had Dungeon Food. Now we got Dungeon People. What's the next logical step here?
Dungeon.
There we go.
Meta dungeon.
So I watched the first, like, I don't know, 6-7 minutes of this, and it was okay.
I watched all of it.
Perfectly okay. Like 5 out of 10, flatline, nothing to write home about.
Yeah, this is boring. This is nothing. It's probably fine, but yeah, there's not much here of interest.
So the
honestly.
idea of this show is that the main character is being raised by her dad, right? And, you know, he's like a very strict teacher and says, like, you need to, you know, do an insane amount of labor. Like, you need to fight for 20 hours straight without, you know, falling and anything like that, without giving up, right? He's just a ruthless trainer, and then he disappears into this dungeon. And they've only seen so far into the dungeon, so there's a bit of mystery. Ooh. And so she goes down, presumably to find her dad. And, you know, she's already, like, at the beginning of the show, because of this training, she's already past the point of, like, known stuff in the dungeon. She is already OP at the beginning. But she's making it further down and, you know, fighting monsters, strategizing, kind of. You know, it's like, I have Dungeon Meshi. I haven't finished it yet. I could go do that.
Yeah, go do that.
I could literally watch the rest of that show at any moment. Why would I watch this one, which is, you know, literally the same dungeon crawling thing, but just, like, boring and not good.
The designs are all very, very... It's the first thing you would think of. And the dungeon itself is also nothing. There were some 3D shots, which made it make more sense. Like, oh, if you had to make a 3D space, it's easy to texture the walls if you're not doing fucking anything with them. Like, most of the decisions seem to be born out of not trying, and that included in the writing. Like, I don't I don't know. I don't feel like this took any risks, and I didn't care as a result.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably people on this project who tried. It's just, it doesn't come through. It really doesn't, unfortunately.
I mean, animation's hard. I don't mean to take away from their work. I just don't think that the probably what they're originally working with, unless this is original, the designs aren't that interesting. The walls aren't that interesting. Yeah, like they're not working with much. I do not envy their position.
Yeah. I mean,
and it seems like the end of it.
I guess, sounds like y'all are done with this one already.
There's nothing to say about it.
All right, which is, that's good for me because I got some things to say about Mayonaka Punch because I did watch this one.
I also did.
I didn't. So now it's my turn to be silent. I did not watch any of the shows from here on out.
Okay, yeah, this is the last one that I saw off this list. I didn't watch anything else beyond this one.
Oh, shit, Super Dude's gonna be by his lonesome.
Uh-huh.
Well, well, I didn't really need to hear about Sakuna because that's a video game adaptation, so I could probably fill in the blanks there because I've seen bits and pieces of the game.
What? I didn't know this.
Yeah, but Mayonaka Punch is another PA Works original because PA Works are allergic to making anything that's based off anything that's not like a game or their own original work.
So what'd you think?
I liked it a lot. It's it's YouTube focused, so I'm predisposed to liking it. And it's about a girl who got canceled.
And a vampire.
Yeah, and it's also Call of the Night. It's Call of the Night if Ko was a YouTuber and also got canceled.
So
what, you're making this show sound like Peak?
Masakichi punched one of the previous members of her previous channel. I believe it's Hype Girls.
Yeah, imagine if what's his name? What's Critical's buddy's name that shows up in his videos? Matt. Imagine if Matt punched Charlie and he got canceled and he tried to do his own channel and it didn't really take off because now people are trolling him because now he's just gonna be forever remembered as the guy that punched Charlie.
I hardly think that punching is worth a cancellation, but that's more of a like real world complaint. I don't know. I was just like, is this really?
They also had They also mark creative differences that they've had throughout the recently on the channel. But like, what was the sparking like flame to light the whole thing ablaze? Was that at one point she got so frustrated with them, she just straight up punched her. What I don't understand is are these people like still friends afterwards? Cause
no way.
She like at the beginning of the episode when like her friends are doing doing the YouTuber thing was like we've agreed to part ways with Masakichi. She's no longer part of our channel. We're gonna be going on without her. She's watching this like out on the street, like the first that she's heard of it. And then she runs home. Presumably, she has access to this apartment because she's able to get in, and I think they all live there together.
I think it's a content house.
Okay. Yeah, she rushes in and she tackles them and fights them again on stream, which gets them into more trouble. But like they don't like.
Kind of sounds like she deserved it.
Oh yeah,
she's like a serial assaulter.
This is the thing.
Straight up beats the hell out of people.
Yeah. One of my
they don't. She doesn't like go crazy. Like it's portrayed as a tackle, and then that's the end of it. But
yeah, it cuts to black frame.
Like they talk to her like she's like, "Well, you got really out of control there for a second, there, pal." Like.
Yeah, I think one of my friends.
It's weird. They act like they're still cool.
No, I think it's saccharine. I think that they're putting on a front, like a sickeningly sweet plastic girl sort of deal. At least that's what I got.
I don't know if they were plastic. I would be, bro. If I were a plastic girl and one of my plastic girlfriends punched me in the face, I'd kick her out entirely. I'd go fucking. Could DEFCON red on her.
Well, the blonde called her a psycho bitch in the very next scene. Like,
yeah,
I think
she sounds like one.
Well, yeah, but like
the black hair girl seems to. The black hair girl seems a little head
but like
empty.
they don't like she never raises her voice. She never like demands her to get the fuck out. She's just like, wow, that was like pretty uncool, dude. Like,
Well, they
it'd be like if like if like Crunchy and I were in the same room and I just like kept repeatedly throwing like crumpled up balls of paper at him. He'd get annoyed, but he'd be like he wouldn't be like, dude, stop. Like, or he wouldn't
No,
be
I'd
like,
actually
no,
call
no,
the
he would be like,
well,
no, he would be
this
like, dude,
is
stop. But no, he
somewhat
wouldn't like
resolved in the
get
next
so
episode.
upset that he like he would like flip the table and be, like, you know, curse me out in like 7 different tongues. But, like, he'd have a reaction.
Well, then you cut out for a
Like,
bit there.
like,
What
these
did you
girls-
say I'd do that in response to?
Me just throwing balls of paper at you.
Oh.
It would be valid.
But yeah, they seem to be like they're still on speaking terms, and they're like, they are fine with being in the same room together and talking about their channel's future.
Yeah,
Like they agree that they're gonna part ways, but like they're weirdly still on amicable terms.
Well, here's the thing. As Crunchy has somewhat alluded, I think Masakichi is the hothead here. I think she's the one who's the most.
Oh yeah, that's the weird thing about the show, though. That's I hope that they address
She
going forward. She is definitely the problem.
She
Like,
definitely has problems.
And the first episode's biggest problem is conveying that it might not be her fault. Like even though she's clearly the one at fault, that they're gonna try to alleviate some of the blame off of her, which I'm like, no, like you deserve to be canceled. You deserve to get trolled by people coming to your open audition for your new solo channel and having other YouTubers be like coming in for interviews, coming in for like prank channels being like, yo, lol, psych. Some trolls being like, oh, please punch me like you punched your channel mates.
She has a lot of very negative traits. She's hot-headed. She doesn't think before she does shit, obviously. She's constantly chasing positive attention. She makes a fake account and leaves a positive comment on her own shit. And she just can't log off. She can't log off. She's got so much negative going on.
She's desperate for positive attention. Like, even though she hates reading negative comments, she'll look at them if only because people are commenting on her shit. So like, you know, any attention is good, will feed her, but she would much rather that be positive comments than negative comments. It's like fucking up her perception of herself.
And then on the other side of things, from this absolute disaster is
and meanwhile there's this vampire, right? Which sounds like it has nothing to do with this premise, but you know, roll with me. There's this vampire living in this mansion, and she has a dream of her sucking the blood of this exact person. She sees this exact person in her dreams, and she wakes up from this 20-year nap. She does not know what the internet she doesn't really know what YouTube and smartphones are because she's been asleep for the past 20 years, which is an interesting thing to think about, that in the grand scheme of things, in like, you know, if we're talking about periods of time, 20 years
she went to sleep in
isn't that much, but when you think about how different technology was 20 years ago to now, and like online internet culture from 2004 versus 2024, it's just like, wow, a lot has changed.
Yeah, YouTube. When did YouTube first come out?
2000.
It came out the year after.
Oh, 2005. Okay. Yeah, it's cool, but it's even older than I thought. Than I remember, at least. Yeah, so she sees her in her dreams, and she can't get her out of her mind because, like, oh man, I'm craving blood, and oh, she was so sexy in that dream. She was like naked and offering herself up to me. It was like the hottest thing in the world. She's like visibly getting off to how hot it would be to suck her blood.
I very much enjoyed that because, like, vampires are sexual monsters. They always have been. So seeing Live, her name, which is her name, be
very subtle, by the way. Her name is Live, as in live, as in live stream.
Live having a very, very sexual attraction to this affect. That's very vampire. It's exactly right. Yes, good. Love it.
Yeah, and she lives with another vampire in this manor that is there. They need a way to pay for the manor because they're in debt to the landlord. And rather than just eat them and just live there because they're vampires, who gives a fuck? They choose to abide by the law for whatever reason. So while she trying to make content for her solo channel in a drunken stupor, Masakichi explores an abandoned hospital as like, oh, spooky ghosts. I'm wandering this abandoned hospital by myself. This content. But she stumbles upon Olive, the vampire, looking for blood bags to feast on in the meantime. And so she sees the girl in her dream. She's here. She's presented herself. And now she starts chasing her around like, oh my god, you're the girl of my dreams. Let me suck your blood, babe.
This sequence,
complete homo.
This sequence is so good. Like,
yeah, this show is just comparing it to what I've seen from the Cheer for You and the Sakuna show. This is easily the best one of the three. Visually, it's very fun to watch. Very well animated. I love the character designs. Very standoutish.
A description for your benefit, Crunchy. We're seeing it from Live's perspective. She's looking around for blood bags. She takes a moment, just takes a break on the ceiling because she can do that. She's standing on the ceiling and she starts running her hands through her hair because she's frustrated at wanting blood and also sexually frustrated for Masakichi. The camera then pans. Masakichi is in the corner of the room, and she hit her face on something a little bit earlier, so she's bleeding, and that blood drop hits the floor, and like a shark, Live immediately stops and senses that there's something in here. We then more or less see the rest of the scene directly from Masakichi's eye view, as Live is like, have you been dreaming about me too? Have you been... I could smell you. Oh, I can't help it. And she starts running her hands through her head and going more and more crazy before the chase. It's not... I wouldn't say it's scary, but it is horror, and it's really well executed.
It's not scary. It's definitely... It's too sexual to be scary.
Exactly.
She is like definitely getting off on
it. It is a horror moment that is like it's just going through
more like a horny moment.
The chase and the like. If you were in Masakichi's shoes, you would be spooked. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. So Masakichi and Live end up striking a deal because she's like, at first she threatens to kill herself by jumping off the building, saying, "Hey, then you won't get to suck my blood, bitch." But then she accidentally falls, and Live catches her, and then starts flying around with her in the sky, and she's live streaming this whole thing. I have no idea in this universe are vampires like known to the world or not.
No,
because okay, well now they do know, because how the fuck is she gonna explain that she's flying like that? And so they make content out of it, and so they enter an agreement where she's like, all right, listen, if you help me reach 1 million subscribers on YouTube, you can suck all the blood that you want, which I think even the way that she says it, like, make a meal out of me, almost implies that she's willing to give up her life to her just for the sake of reaching 1 million subs.
Yeah, that's the sense.
Which is interesting. And she's like, all right, bet. And then that's the show. That's the premise.
It ends with Live smiling. We don't really get to hear how the deal went, but we know. And then it ends. That's episode 1. Like, it's simple. It's really simple. But it's executed well. And, I like how vampiric Live is. It is good. And I do think that Masakichi sucks ass. I think she's a bad person. But that doesn't...
Yeah, I really hope the show acknowledges that she's a bad person and deserves all the shitty things that happened to her, and don't try to play it off as like they just don't understand.
We'll see. Sometimes shows are just about bad people, and that's fine. I mean, she is about to be hanging out with vampires. They're not good people either, typically. But yeah, like, it's got a good premise, and I've watched the first 3 episodes. The 3rd one came out today. This one I've been keeping up on really aggressively because it's a YouTube anime, and also again, simple but executed well. I liked it. And now It's all me, bitch.
Yeah, anything to say about that, Crunchy?
Nope, except it sounds interesting, and I probably should have watched it instead of infinite other shows this season.
It's definitely one of the good ones. There's been a lot of surprisingly good shows this season.
Yeah,
All right.
Specifically this second block got really good.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that? I remember you saying, I put all the isekai in the first block so the second one would be better. But you're really backloaded. We gotta get through some slop.
I mean, yeah. Well, part of it was that, just for the sake of the schedule, I didn't want to have, I'd rather, it's better to, take one salty boulder, like shove it down your throat all at once, than to look up the entirety of the Botswana salt flats.
Man, that was a metaphor. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely stole that from somewhere. Yeah, so yeah, you're just gonna have to tell us how good these last 3 shows are.
Right. So, Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, Sakuna, god of the harvest, is among all these other gods in not heaven. It's this other world. There seems to be 2 different worlds. There's the overworld, which they call the lofty world, and then the other one, I think they call it the lowly world. There is a family.
The what?
The lofty and the lowly.
Me and Neon had the same thought.
Why haven't I watched this show? Why haven't I played this game?
A family arrives in the lofty world. Sakuna goes, "Don't stop. Turn around. This is the world of the gods. You can't be here." And then she fucks off. We learned that Sakuna is a complete and utter brat. Her father and mother worked really, really hard to gain all of this rice, which will last for who knows how long, at least decades, if not hundreds of years. Sakuna has never had to harvest rice, despite being the god of the harvest. But rice is really important, so she's more like she's afforded an elevated position in this god hierarchy. Hence her brattiness. This is all thrown on its head, though, when the family once again crosses the bridge. They didn't listen to Sakuna, and they eat the rice. And Sakuna, in attempting to stop them, accidentally burns all of the rice down, because it is rice sitting in these not wheat barrels, but barrels of straw. So it all just goes right up. And the overgod, whose name escapes me, says, "Punished. What you must do is exactly what your parents did. Go to the realm, to the island of demons, and actually do your fucking job. Make rice, and also take care of this human family, because the bridge between the lofty and lowly is down, and they can't return. So they're your problem." So, not sure what the show will be from here. The first episode is all set up, but it seems to be slice of lifey, hanging out with family, while also there are a couple of secrets. What happened to Sakuna's family? We don't know. They disappeared on the Island of Demons. Also, the Island of Demons is obviously dangerous. We wouldn't be calling it that if it was cool. So there's a couple of secrets in that way, and she's gonna learn how to be better and whatnot, whatever. The show is very pretty. It is, I don't know if it's animated well, but I really liked the various designs of the characters. It was stylistic. They didn't look like anything else from this season. It also was, and I don't have any sort of knowledge about Japanese folklore, or their myth or their god beliefs, but it reminded me very much of the Fountainhead Palace in Sekido. I imagine they're calling off of the same route. It was pretty. It was nice. I'm not going to continue watching it, mostly because I don't care. And it seems cool. Now that I know it's a game, maybe the game. Although the fact that her job is to make rice makes me think it might be a farming simulator. The ruin part being a fighting, I don't know. That was something. It was pretty, and it could be more. Next up, Red Cat Ramen. Red Cat Ramen. It was deeply ugly. I thought it looked really not good. There was a lot of CG all over the place, and the characters moved really, really blockily. If anybody saw, this is a deep cut, but Hoodwinked, an animated cartoon.
Oh,
movie
I
from,
remember
God,
I know
that
that
from
movie.
my childhood, dude.
mhm.
That was
That was a good childhood movie.
Hoodwinked is a deeply ugly movie. Its writing is really, really, really good, but the CGI is awful. And Red Cat Ramen reminded me of that, which is not a good comparison. Anyway, Yashiro, protagonist. She
Was the writing as good as Hoodwinked?
no.
Ooh.
Yashiro is the protagonist. She is a human working at the cat ramen place. They hire her. They asked, "Are you a cat person?" She says, "Not really." And they go, "Cool, you're hired." Her job, she brushes the cats to pull their hair out so the hair doesn't fall into the food. There is talk about the big boss, the orange cat, who's on the front of the box of the show. He never drops any hair in the food. He's awesome. There's a big tiger bodyguard who gets out there when stuff gets bad, and then I turned it off. It's just not very pretty. There are moments where the characters are quite literally deer in the headlights, not making any faces at all, because they'll move their heads like they're doing things, but they just don't bother animating the like the texture of the face. It didn't seem like a lot of effort was put in. I've seen people say online that this is good, like its writing is good or it goes places, but this shit ugly. Or at the very least, I have some sort of deep prejudice against CGI. It's Land of the Lustrous or bust for me. I'm sorry. Read the manga. The last thing on the list was Tasuketsu, Fate of the Majority. The opener made me think a lot of Death Note. And it turns out that wasn't on accident. This show is normal kids, just innocent men, that are going about school, and then they wake up and most people in the world are dead. The day before, there was a message on a computer. It said, "Do you see this message? Yes or no?" The following day, they deduce that everybody who didn't see the message died. They then see a message the next day. It says only the people in whatever prefecture they were in. The president of the school said, "Well, I don't live in this prefecture." The next day he dies. So that's the setup. Every day there is a question. If you answer the question wrong, you die. I don't know how lying fits into this. Who knows? They get this Danganronpa ass game show prompt of, okay, so you got to find either a blue, a red mailbox or a blue some other thing. You got to put an envelope in it. There is a question. The question will be revealed at 11 p.m. Whichever side is the minority lives. The majority dies every time, hence the title Fate of the Majority. I believe Tasuketsu, I looked it up, translates to majority vote. The majority dies every time. This will keep happening every single day until only one person is left, and then they can speak to the person who operated this game, who I believe calls himself Emperor. I don't know. I lost all my notes for this. This is all going off of memory. There is a character who has a gun. He starts walking around threatening people. Everybody else starts freaking out. The main character and some girl hit it off, and they're deducting. This is why I was like, oh, this is more Death Note than I thought it was going to be. Characters are trying to figure out, like, well, how did he get the gun? Why didn't he come to school and do the thing? Was it really him? Blah, blah, blah. So there's going to be some, low level. I say low level. I just mean teenager mystery drama bullshit happening here. At the end of the first episode, the question is revealed, are you a boy or a girl? Meaning that one of our two main characters is dying in the first episode. God damn. The episode ends with the majority was boy. We have been following a boy through this entire first episode, our assumed protagonist. He isn't. He dies. Day one. Maybe we'll have an Attack on Titan situation. Who knows? I'm not going to keep watching it. Its premise is a lot. It spends like minutes and minutes while Emperor is explaining the rules of the game. saying all this to people. This is a high drama Danganronpa sort of deal. I've seen a lot of people online say that it looks like complete dog water. Sure. I don't remember. I remember it looked really generic. Don't watch it. Given that we're all adults here, I think that we're past the point. Like, it's like Death Note. Like, Death Note was great when I was 15. Now that I'm an adult, I see that it was actually really fucking silly.
Well, hold on. Don't diss Death Note, bro.
No, I'm not saying Death Note's bad. I'm saying Death Note was made for its age demographic. Now I see that it's,
to be fair.
Yeah, like I take a chip and eat it. Like that is silly. And this isn't much the same though.
But it's also peak.
So yeah, that was those were the final shows. I watched everything.
You poor thing.
Oh, with that, we thank you for your service. You have been more dedicated than we were.
I heard the prompt, and I followed
with that, we've covered everything from the summer 2024 season. This one's got a lot of surprisingly good shows.
Mm-hmm.
I was legitimately, like you said, surprised at how good a lot of the shows were. Definitely a step up from probably the last 2 seasons, honestly. Like, so far, this is probably the best season of the year. Like, we've got a consistent round of good shows, and like, me and Neon both have shows that we didn't watch that were supposed to be good, and that isn't very common. Usually when we skip a show, it turns out to be bad.
I could probably fill, like, a top 10 list of shows that I could recommend. Like, I'd feel stronger about the top 3 than the top 10 at the bottom, but I could do it and not feel like I have to sacrifice anything. Like, I'll recommend the 6 out of 10 show, then it'll be like 10 shows you can watch.
You can watch them rather than, hey, these are probably good.
Yeah, so I guess all that just leaves is the top bottom 3. Super, you want to go first?
The top bottom 3.
Top and bottom 3.
Top and bottom 3.
Okay, I was like the top of the bottom. I'm more confused than I'm not.
Do you want to start with top? Do you want to start with bottom? I forget what order we usually do it in.
We could build some tension for what's the best by starting with the worst.
Okay, I'm down for that.
So, for me, as probably you've noticed, if a show is trying something, I will give it the benefit of the doubt, even if the show isn't really good. I think that the biggest sin is being fucking boring. And in that book, in no particular order, because I just don't really, I don't remember which is which. The strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was a human. Was deeply fucking boring. It was so obvious. I stopped watching Red Cat Ramen early because it was boring and ugly. So yeah, there's another one. And the last one, I kind of really hated A Journey Through Another World Raising Kids While Adventuring. It never got around to it never got around to doing anything. Anytime that there was a potential conflict, the show wrote it out. It would just felt like it was fucking walking through and fuck all was happening. There are certainly things that I skipped. Like, I skipped Red Cat Ramen, I skipped Plus Size Elf, I skipped one isekai that I don't even see on my list here. It was so forgettable. But these were the things that were actively boring to me. And that's a greater sin than being bad, I guess.
Alright, that's interesting, because I thought it was like, it was bad, but it wasn't that bad. It's nowhere near my bottom 3.
And what are those?
Alright, I mean, normally people do bottom 3 then top 3, then we move on to the next person, but I'm down to do bottom 3 for everyone, and then we eventually get to the top.
This works.
Alright.
This works.
So this one I do have in a particular order, except, oh god, I mean, because two of them are isekai, but normally we condense the isekai into just one, because in this one has so many. So I
Isekai
might
shit.
just... Isekai is really bad. Yeah, so I might just... You know, we'll skip my actual top 3 worst, because we'll just make, you know... Obviously, all the generic isekai are the worst, but, you know, we'll get to the actual worst show. But for my number 3 pick, it's a tough one, but I think I'm gonna go with what I saw of Nanare Hananare. Because although, I mean, it's a good title, I like saying Nanare Hananare, but I mean, the actual show was boring and extremely ugly, and it seemed like it was just going to be the most generic version of its story, because, like, I thought about putting 2.5 dimensional seduction in this spot, which is why I was hesitating so much. But that show at least has a unique idea, horribly executed, horribly botched. But it at least had an idea that I thought it, did terribly. But I'd rather watch it than Nanare Hananare, which is just so dull. It seems like it'd be the most generic thing. My second worst is My Wife Has No Emotions, because it is sad. It is actively depressing to watch. It ruins my mood if I watch it, and it isn't supposed to be doing that. It's supposed to be wholesome fun. So it's garbage. I did not like it. And my number 1 worst, the worst of the isekai, is the strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was a human. God, this show is nothing.
Yep.
It is like turbo nothing. Far more nothing even than what you said, Raising Kids While Adventuring. Like, at least that had, like, it was kind of cute. This is horrible. This is like turbo nothing. Like, I don't think
nothing's happening here.
I think I could watch that show, then sleep, wake up the next day, and forget literally every single event that happened in it. I am convinced that would happen if I watched it.
It's hard to remember when things actively aren't happening. It's just him going, thank God they didn't find out I was human.
Exactly. So, Neon, what is your bottom 3?
Well, I'll give a quick shout out, because I didn't, after watching the rest of the shows in the whole block, I was originally gonna throw in Senpai's and Otokonoko in my bottom 3 purely off of its shit directing, but I couldn't, after seeing all the other shows, I couldn't bring myself to put it in the bottom
There were
3,
worse.
so I'll just give
Yeah,
it a...
thank God.
Yeah, I'll give it a dishonorable mention.
So
I'll
mad
say
at you if you'd done that, because
I'll say it's one of the worst adaptations of the season.
That's fair. I
think that's fair to say. Okay. So to represent all of the isekai, the one that I put here is Failure Frame, because the strongest magician was a human. It is boring. It is a nothing burger, but I feel like Failure Frame is gonna be a lot trashier, and maybe you get some ironic enjoyment out of it. But I also feel like Failure Frame is gonna go down the edgelord don't come to school tomorrow route of isekai power fantasy.
For reference, that was the other show that I was going to put in my bottom 3 if I didn't condense the isekai. So
that was the
aligned.
first scene dad beating show. Put me in a bad mood immediately.
Yeah, so second worst is Days with My Stepsister, because it's the only show on the list that I watched 1 minute of and just noped the fuck out. Which I'll give all the isekai credit. I got like 5. I gave them all the 5-minute test. I gave the a more earnest chance to leave an impression, and they were all generic and the bad ones. The bad ones were all generic and unmemorable. But I'm going to forget the minute that I saw of Days with My Stepsister immediately. And this should come to no surprise if you watched the last podcast. 2.5 Dimensional Seduction is the worst show of the season because of what it represents.
It's not its content. It's its
are there
message.
shows that are technically worse, like produced worse than it? Yes. Do any of them push this weirdo agenda as much? No. This is the worst one.
All right. Am I going first for best?
Yep. I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
We're going round in a circle.
Now, I have 4 of these. The honorable 4th is Wisteria Wand and Sword. It would be in the top 3, but there was news dropping that the show is immediately hitting production issues and hiatus, and it's like, which dropping off. We got 3 good episodes, and I'm not sure if we're gonna get more. But it's a very good first episode. I'm just saying, if they're hitting episode 3 and they're hitting production issues, I don't know if you guys should. I don't know if the people should continue this. It's extremely good, but know that this might go the way of Zom 100. All right. Top 3. Number 3, Mayonaka Punch. I just really, it's definitely not better than some of the other things, but I really like the concept. I like that quote unquote horror sequence for what they were trying. And I'm a YouTuber. I got a rep. Mayonaka Punch. Now number 2 and number 1, fuck. I don't know which one I want to put over. I'm gonna put number 2 as Too Many Losing Heroines. I really, really loved the art here. The characters were alive. They were interesting. They were witty. It just looked really nice, and it was funny. And that's what I need in my life. And also the ending, where it kind of implies there is going to be some romantic shit. That's my trash. I'm here for it. And number 1, I feel like this might be a number 1 for Neon as well. I don't know. Shoshimin series. This is good. Very, very pretty. Very, very interesting direction, and the way that sequences light up. How I don't want how do I put this? The metaphorical folds in with what they're saying, and it's a mystery. You don't get a lot of those. What was the last mystery that Apothecary Diaries? Maybe. This is very pretty and interesting, and people have told me that it's gonna get crazier. So yeah, those are my 3. Technically 4.
All right. So first of all, I'm you know what? I'm gonna do my honorable 4th, just like with you. And the reason why is because I want to just say I did watch Shoshimin series, and it is my honorable 4th. I liked it very much. It would have been the best of Last Block if I had seen it in time for Last Block. Literally cleared everything else in it. Unfortunately, it does not make my top 3 just because there are 3 shows from this specific block that I ended up liking more. Number 3 on that list is Too Many Losing Heroines, because I love the premise, I love the directing and the visuals. I think it is visually one of the best looking anime of this season, and I have high hopes for it. Number 2 is Dead Demons Dededede Destruction, because thematically it is just riveting, tonally it is gripping. It seems like something I'd need to be in a specific mood to watch and enjoy, but if I'm ever in that mood, it will be the best thing to watch at that specific time. And number 1 is a bit of a weird one, because I think the latter 2 shows I just listed probably will be better than it in the long run, but if I'm just going off of the first episode, Shika Noko 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 Kosh Tan Tan, baby. that was unbelievably funny. You know, I have my doubts about its overall quality going forward, but that first episode was really legitimately fun. Like, I want to watch more of it immediately. And no, I really hope it closes it out and is in the end like as great as it could be. So that's my top 3. What about you, Neon?
Well, I'll also give an honorable mention because it did get knocked out of the top 3 by shows from this block. To Wisteria. If you're trying to get your shonen fix, it's not original, but it's well produced. So if that's all you're here for, if you're just in it for the action, Wistoria will get your fix. But as far as top 3 goes, third place is Nokotan, which surprised me because I was expecting it to be my number 1 clear cut. But it is funny. It's definitely the best, pure comedy of the season. But I feel like as a in the short term, it'll be like it's gonna be good for brain rot comedy. But as far as like stories that I'll get out of a TV show, then the next 2 shows I'm gonna get like more out of in the long run. Like it's gonna be this is Nokotan's good for your heart. These next 2 are good for your soul. Number 2 would be Shoshiman series, which it would have been show of the season had it not been for one that's probably now made itself very clear now that I've said what number 2 is. Yeah, like Super Dude said, we don't get too many mysteries. It's got big Hyoka vibes because it's from the Hyoka author. It's got like an atmosphere. It feels very cinematic, despite it being just about 2 high school kids talking about trying to fit in when they're junior Sherlock Holmeses. It still has one of the best first episodes of the season and of the whole year. That moment when the girl lost her tarts in that horrific double homicide is one for the ages.
Unforgivable.
And they got me emotionally invested in this character via pastries.
Also,
like that's how you know a show is good.
I just have to interrupt you real quick and tell Super Dude that when Neon told me that what happened to the strawberries was horrific, I legitimately believed him. And so the entire time I was watching, I expected it to get, like, turbo dark. Like, the twist was just something insanely messed up. And then I watched the entire episode.
It was messed up.
It was messed up.
It was pretty fucked up, huh?
She was so patient sobbing that whole episode. And was she? And they were the seasonal pastries, only make them once a year. Yeah, she was gonna share them with her boyfriend. And what does this motherfucker do? Steals his bike and just drops him on the ground. No worse for wear. Hit awful. To condemn him, put him in the fucking gallows. Get the firing squad on site. But yeah, number 1 is Too Many Losing Heroines. I'm in love with everything about this production. It got the edge over Shoshiman series because it has like the anime benefit of being a great production. Because as great as the filmmaking in Shoshiman series is, Too Many Losing Heroines has better animation than it does. So it has all of the benefits that Shoshiman series has, but with it's got a different feel, a different vibe, and that's not like a knock against Shoshiman series, but it has the animation and the visual presentation that takes fuller advantage of the medium of animation, in my opinion. But you can't go wrong with either of them.
And that's about it.
Yeah, that'll bring us to an end of this installment of the Castaway Anime Podcast. Super Dude, we want to thank you for coming on, and if you have anything you'd like to plug, now would be the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Let's see, just plug in YouTube. I got a YouTube channel, guys, and I make anime videos and D&D videos and also some other random shit on occasion. Right now, the thing that I have that's more inclined for this crowd would be the Dungeon Meshi Spelunking Across the Spectrum video that I made about how, hey, so many of those characters are pretty autistic, and how that actually makes the story cooler. It's not just some random pandering bullshit. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on.
And thank you for coming on.
It's been a fucking adventure.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to Super Dude's channel, linked below. Subscribe to Crunchy's channel. Subscribe to this channel. We got big things coming on the horizon for the podcast. We're going to be taking a bit of a short break, but we'll be coming back in August with a bit of a new spin on things. So maybe even be like a short little video explaining what's happening to not only the podcast, but to this channel in the near future. So
we're becoming a daily vlogging series.
Woo! Yeah, hopefully we'll find a cute vampire who wants to suck our blood when we explore any abandoned hospitals. And yeah, that'll do her for this episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagel. things.
And you'll see us next time.